Name? Well, we got Dell coming up too, so, we got 2 more. Yeah, we're definitely down over the threshold. Are we, okay, we got 6 o'clock coming. We're going to start up here in a second. All right. Oh, we got another one. Okay, so we're going to bring this meeting to order. We're going to start with an invocation, and we have Pastor Jason Smotherman. Smotherman, I apologize. First time I'm meeting you, sir. Come on, step up the podium and announce yourself, and then take it over.
My name is Pastor Jason Smotherman, and yes, I didn't pick my last name. It was my mom that did that. And a pleasure to be here. What I'm about to do in public, I want you guys to know that we do in private at our church, Parkway Christian Center. The church across the street from Fred Meyer. We thank you guys for your service. Many of you guys are volunteers, and we recognize the weight that's on you, but I want you guys to know that there's a church that's praying for you, and we're excited to be here. Would you guys bow your heads and close your eyes? Heavenly Father, we thank you for the city of Grants Pass and for placing leaders in positions of authority, just as your word declares in Romans chapter 13. Today we lift up our city council. We ask for a fresh outpouring of your Holy Spirit upon each of the members. Anoint them with wisdom from above, not the wisdom of man, but the discernment that comes from your Spirit. Let this meeting be guided by truth, righteousness, and clarity. Lord, I ask that you would raise up righteous leadership that walks in godly fear, humility, and justice. We pray in the mighty name of Jesus that no weapon formed against this city council or the employees of this city will prosper. We ask that you would break every assignment of confusion or division and let unity fueled by compassion and conviction prevail. Empower these men and women to make decisions that reflect your kingdom principles, mercy, justice, and truth. And Holy Spirit, we ask that you hover over this city. Breathe revival through every neighborhood, every school, and every home. May Grants Pass be marked not by turmoil, but by a spiritual awakening. Let your presence fall like fire upon this place, and let the hearts of our leaders burn with vision for peace, restoration, and righteousness. We declare blessings over Grants Pass, and may this city be a lighthouse in Southern Oregon, shining with the hope, healing, and power of Jesus Christ. And we pray these things in the matchless and powerful name of Jesus. And we all say, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please rise, remove your covers for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we cannot proceed until everybody has a seat. Fire code precludes us from having anybody standing in the audience, so unless we can have everybody in seats, we cannot proceed. Thank you. All right. We're going to open this meeting with the roll call. Kathleen?
Yep, I'm here.
Eric?
Here.
Seth?
Here.
Rob is not here just yet, but he probably will be here. Indra?
Here.
Victoria?
Here.
And
Rick.
the mayor is here. Thank you very much.
Rick, here.
Oh, hey, sorry, Rick. Oh, and then I do apologize. We're missing Joel. I think he's actually off doing some fun stuff.
Clint,
So, yeah.
before we start, I would like to ask that we move 5C out of the consent agenda and vote on that separately as a council action. Or actually, I would like to suggest that we table the council action on, maybe I wait till we talk about that on it and move that to a workshop actually for discussion.
Is it already started?
5C's already started. It is started.
Okay, 5C is already starred. That means that there will be a presentation with a separate vote on that. That's already starred, as well as 5C. 5C and 5B are the same. They're start items.
Okay.
So you will receive a short staff presentation before you vote on either 5B or 5C.
Thank you.
Okay, so B's been pulled too? I make a motion to pull B.
Correct,
From the
it
consent
was.
agenda. Okay.
I believe staff had heard your guys' emails previously or requests previously, and we started those items before tonight. All right.
And then I have a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
before we get started. It's my understanding that for public comment, that council can vote to extend the time for public comment. I would just hate, I mean, I've seen more people here before when we're on the other side, and I would hate for just a few people not to be able to speak. So isn't that an option?
Is that in our resolution? So I have been informed, it is written in the resolution that you do have that option. If you want to bring that motion forward, I guess this is the time to do it.
I would move that we extend public comment time so that everyone has a chance to speak for 2 minutes.
You got a second on that? Erica, second? All right, you guys have a motion on the table to extend public comment back to 2 minutes with the number of, I don't even know how many we got now, so we don't even know the ending timeline on that. With a second from Eric, so motion on the table to extend public comment to 2 minutes for each individual. Any further discussion? No, thank you. Okay, vote on that. Kathleen?
Yes.
Sorry? Yes. Thank you. Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
Okay, we will bump that back up to 2 minutes. Thank you very much. I'm going to look around the room. Is there anybody else has got any more comments before I start here? All right, okay. So at this time, I will open a public hearing to consider the application as filed for ordinance amending the property located at 535 Lincoln Road, map number 36-6-13DA, tax lot 1000 into the city limits. For this application, we will begin with hearing from a staff report, followed by a presentation by either staff report by the staff or applicant, statements from people in favor of the application, statements by persons in opposition of the application, and an opportunity for additional comments by the applicant and staff. After that has occurred, the public comment portion will be closed and the matter will be discussed and acted upon by the council. Is there anyone present who wishes to challenge the authority of the council to hear this matter? Seeing none, do any councilors wish to abstain from participating in this hearing or declare a potential conflict of interest? Seeing none, are there any councilors who wish to disclose discussions, contact, or other ex parte information they have received prior to this meeting regarding this application? Seeing none. In this hearing, the decision of the council will be based upon specific criteria which are set forth in the development code. All testimony which applies in this case are noted in the staff report. If you would like a copy of this report, please write that on a note to the city manager and one can be provided for you. It is important to remember if you fail to raise an issue with enough detail to afford the council and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue, you will not be able to appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. The hearing will now proceed with a report from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, members of the public, Bradley Clark with the Community Development. This tonight is an application for annexation. It's about a 2.5-acre parcel off of Lincoln Road. So if approved, it would bring it into the city limits, as you mentioned, Mayor, and it relates to a couple of the council goals there related to the urban growth boundary. So the location of the property that we're talking about tonight, again, it's about 2.5 acres. It's just south of G Street on Lincoln Road, immediately adjacent to the Lincoln Road Veterinarian. It is on the very western edge of the urban growth boundary. It does extend over here to the other side of Lincoln. You can see that J Street, Southwest J Street, currently stubs into the eastern boundary. If approved, the developer would be extending J Street across to connect with Lincoln Road there. So here's an aerial photo just to give you a better sense of the neighborhood that we're talking about. Again, you can see the veterinarian facility here to the south. There's a small house also associated with that. And then you can see the existing urban street grid there to the east. This is just a copy of the formal annexation map showing the legal description. And from Lincoln Road, this is what the property looks like. It's fairly flat. It's undeveloped. There are no structures on it. It already has city comprehensive plan designation of moderate density. It also has existing city zoning of R2. Those were done many years ago. So even though it's not in the city limits, since it's in the urban growth boundary, it has those designations. Under ORS 222 for annexation rules, you can annex property without a vote if 100% of the property owners agree, and in this case there's only one owner, Consolidated Land Holdings LLC. Gary Yonser shown as the applicant, and they are the sole owner and requested in March that the city annex the property. The reason for the application is a kind of a predecessor to their intent, which is to do a middle housing land division project that would provide 5 new lots, and then on each of those 5 lots there would be 4 units for a total of 20 new residential dwelling units. As far as utilities, there is city water in J Street, there is city sewer in Lincoln and in J, and there's also stormwater in J. So in terms of being able to provide this property with utilities, that is able to be done. They are adjacent to the property. There was a pre-application conference held in March on this property, and as I mentioned, that would have J Street extending through to Lincoln. Our city surveyor did check the annexation legal description. It is meeting all the standards. This is just a map showing the utilities that I just referred to. And then this is just a preliminary look at the layout of the project that they are intending to build. This is not on tonight's agenda. This is just simply provided as education for you. If you annex, this is the intent of the developer. So here's a list of the criteria that are in the ordinance that they have to meet. Staff has reviewed all of these and have found that the application does meet them. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan, since that's not changing. It's consistent with the development code, and we do find that there's sufficient capacity to give future lots services. Just our standard language, what happens next if they annex. It goes to the Josephine County Assessor and the Oregon Department of Revenue for their approval. And here's the call to action slide for you and a couple of motions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Rick?
Thank you, Brad. The state of Oregon does not require on-site parking. Are you aware in their proposal in the future if they're going to have on-site parking?
I do believe that in the pre-application conference they do show parking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? I don't see any further questions. Thank you, Brad. At this time, we will open up for public comment in regards to the action on the table. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of this application? Seeing none, bring it back to council for discussion and or action. Seth?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move to adopt the ordinance annexing parcel 36-06-13-DA tax lot 1000 into the Grants Pass city limits and have it read by title only, first reading.
Thank you, Seth. With a motion on the table for first reading and a second from Victoria, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go into a roll call vote. Victoria?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Unanimously passes for first reading.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass annexing the property located at 535 Lincoln Road, map number 360613DA, tax lot 1000, into the city limits.
Thank you. Bring it back to council for further discussion or motion. Indra.
I'll move to adopt the ordinance annexing parcel 360613DA, tax lot 1000, into the Grants Pass city limits and have it read by title only, second reading.
Thank you. We have a motion for second reading with a second from Rick. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go into a roll call vote. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
Passes unanimously for a second reading.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass annexing the property located at 535 Lincoln Road, map number 360613DA, tax lot 1000, into the city limits.
Thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item is public hearing. At this time, I will open the public hearing to consider the application as filed for an ordinance amending the urban growth boundary and comprehensive plan map for properties related to the urban reserve and urban growth boundary. We will begin the hearing with a staff report, followed by presentations, statements by people in favor of the application, statements by people in opposition of the application, and an opportunity for additional comments by the applicant and staff. After that has occurred, the public comment portion will be closed, and the matter will be discussed and acted upon by council. Is there anybody present who wishes to challenge the authority of the council to hear this matter? Seeing none, do any councilors wish to abstain from participating in this hearing or declare a potential conflict of interest? Rick.
I've spoken with one of the property owners, but I'm not currently employed by any of them, and I feel like I'm able to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody else? Seeing none, are there any councilors who wish to disclose, discussion, contact, or other ex parte information they have received prior to this meeting regarding this application? Seeing none. In this hearing, the decision of the council will be based on specific criteria which are set forth in the development code. All testimony which applies to this case are not in the staff report. All testimony which applies to this case are noted in the staff report. Sorry about that. If you would like a copy of that report, please write that down on a note for the city manager, and one can be provided for you. It is important to remember, if you fail to raise an issue with enough detail to afford the council and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue, you will not be able to appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. And the hearing will proceed with a report from staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, and members of the public. My name is Mark Trinidad, the Planning Manager. We'll do things a little bit different here. I'll kind of preface the land exchange study tonight, and we actually have a land use consultant, MIG, Matt Hasty, who will present the balance of this slide deck to you this evening. But I wanted to explain kind of the backstory, how we ended up here. I recognize that in 2023, two things that had happened. First, the council adopted what's known as the housing production strategies. There were 11 strategies that were adopted in 2023, and one of those strategies was to look at or to study what's known as an urban growth land exchange. So pursuant, the second thing that happened in 2023 is that the council had authorized city staff to apply for a state grant to conduct an urban growth land exchange study. And the findings for you this evening are a result of those two council actions back in 2023. And I'll explain further in terms of what this land exchange study has resulted in. The first strategy, or one of these strategies in terms of the urban growth land exchange, actually came from the development community, and this was in response to looking at properties within the urban reserve to unlock them for future residential development. This UBG land exchange study was kicked off last year. It was with city staff, MIG, the lead consultant, along with DLCD, and during the course of the study and in the course of staff had met with county staff, with property owners. We presented findings and milestones to the former Housing Advisory Committee and also to the Urban Area Planning Commission. So this study and these findings were kind of reached different milestones and presented to different groups, particularly the property owners who are affected by this urban growth boundary exchange. The key to finding tonight is this exchange is an exchange. It is not an expansion of the urban growth boundary. It is simply a minor amendment that essentially takes properties in and properties out. And Matt Hasty of MIG will explain kind of the findings that went into it. So that being said, I'll pass it on to Matt Hasty, our project manager, who will remote in from somewhere up north. Matt, if you can share your screen, hopefully that comes through.
Yeah, can you see my screen or see the presentation? I'm trying to share it now.
There we go. And can I make that larger?
It's up there.
Are you guys seeing the presentation? And me? And are you hearing me?
Can they should be able to see it now. Oh, there you go. Let me, yeah. Matt, this is Mark here, and we can see both you and the slide deck now.
Awesome. Okay. And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. Thanks for having me on the screen virtually here. Appreciate being here. So as Mark said, I'll walk through a presentation, relatively brief, and talk about, add a little bit to what Mark said about what we're trying to achieve here, sort of a quick overview of the process we've gone through and the specific tasks that we've undertaken as part of this. Talk a little bit about, what were the criteria or the rationale for the different areas we're proposing to add to or take out of the UGB, and then I'll show you those specific areas that are being proposed for either inclusion or removal from the UGB, and then just to very briefly talk about next steps. So in terms of the objectives, Mark's really touched on some of this already. Improve opportunities to produce housing, following up from that housing production strategy recommendation that Mark mentioned. What we're proposing to do here is bring in some land that's frankly easier or more efficient to develop and remove some land that's less efficient or more difficult to develop. So enhancing the overall development feasibility of land in the UGB is one of our objectives. As Mark said, there's a lot of engagement with property owners in these areas we're talking about. So that was a high priority for us to make sure that, we're not doing something that the property owners who are proposed for coming into or going out of the UGB are opposed to or not happy with. And then just, seeking support from you all. And we've gotten a recommendation from the Planning Commission to move this forward. So we kind of hit the first milestone on that. So a few other things, and again, Mark hit on some of this already. Pretty targeted or narrow scope for the exchange. This is, I would agree, it's fairly minor change to the UGB. It builds on prior UGB expansion efforts by focusing solely on land in the urban reserve areas in terms of land we're proposing to bring into the UGB. And I'll just note that in addition to folks in my firm, MIG, we also had another consulting firm helping with this, Johnson Economics, and they did a market analysis of the properties being proposed for inclusion in the UGB just to make sure that they weren't seeing any kind of fatal flaws with them in terms of development feasibility. Mark already mentioned this is funded by a grant from the state. And we've had good participation from those folks, just kind of watching what we're doing and making sure that we're doing things consistent with state rules and regulations sort of throughout the process. And then I would say just a really good, partnership between folks on our consulting team and city staff. They've just been great to work with throughout. So good collaboration there. So the specific tasks we undertook, first defined the study area. That was essentially the urban reserves and areas already within the urban growth boundary. And then we identified kind of a larger list of potential exchange properties. I'll show you that on a map in a moment. Looked at those in terms of, again, some criteria that I'll talk about in a moment. Reached out to property owners in all those areas, met with them. Mark met with quite a few property owners, either in person or talked to them by phone or communicated by email. So a lot of consultation with them. Based on that, we narrowed the scope or the number of potential properties to add to or subtract from the boundary, and then made a set of preliminary recommendations. We've refined those recommendations a couple steps along the way, including, and I'll talk about this later, between the Planning Commission meeting and this meeting. And so what we've got in front of you now is kind of a final proposal to you for the areas to add to or take out of the UGB. This is a map that's showing the kind of initial larger set of properties that we looked at, and I'll just note that in the end, we need to be adding and subtracting a pretty equivalent amount of land in terms of either acreage or the development capacity of that land. So we started out with a lot more properties we were looking at potentially for inclusion, not as many for exclusion or removal, but ultimately we've ended up with a pretty balanced kind of equation there in terms of land to be added or taken out. So some of the things we thought about in terms of identifying possible areas to bring in, we were looking for, relatively large, flatter areas, areas that have proximity, that are close to water, sewer, and road services. Again, we wanted to make sure that there was support to bring the areas in from the owners of those properties. And again, we really just focused on areas or properties already within the city's urban reserve because those are already planned for future development or urbanization in the long term. And then the properties we looked at in terms of removing are those with constraints to development. So they could have challenging topography or access or location constraints in terms of their access to infrastructure. And already also, when we talked to property owners, they said for these final set of properties, yeah, they're fine with these coming out of the UGB, or just don't have any interest in developing them in the long term. So those were the things we thought about there. This is a map that kind of shows for all these properties when we talk to people, what did they tell us? Did they tell us, yes, I would like to be excluded, no, I would, or yes, I would like to be included, or if we said, hey, we're thinking about identifying your property to be removed, some of them said, no, I'd like to stay in. And some of them we didn't hear a response from. We reached out to them in each case at least 2 or 3 times. Some folks were undecided, so that's just kind of a sense of what people had to say the first couple times we reached out to them. Ultimately, what we did was we identified kind of 3 different potential proposals. I'll talk about them briefly in a moment in terms of lands to be added or subtracted. We conducted this market analysis that I talked about earlier. And then again, we communicated with the property owners to get a sense of what they wanted to do in regard to coming into the UGB or being removed. And then, kind of the alternatives are sort of tiered. So there was the smallest alternative, smallest number of properties to come in or out was alternative A. Alternative B builds on A and adds some more properties, and C builds on those first 2 and adds still more properties. Even so, it's not a lot of properties or acres we're talking about here. So this table, I don't expect you all to be able to kind of read or go through this table in a lot of detail, but it's just listing the properties in those 3 alternatives. And again, they're additive. And ultimately, the initial recommendation from staff that we took to Planning Commission is represented in the 3rd table there. And so I won't spend much time on this, but I will just note that the amount of land coming in versus coming out is pretty much the same, or very close to the same. There's one more slide that adds to this a little bit different in terms of the capacity or the number of housing units we project could be built in these different areas. So that's not quite equivalent, but it's within about 15%. So we heard from the Planning Commission unanimous approval. A property owner came to the Planning Commission public hearing and said that they would also like to be considered for inclusion in the UGB. The Planning Commission wasn't quite ready to make a recommendation on that one way or the other because we hadn't heard about that. We didn't have information about it, but they were interested in exploring that. And so we've done some work around that since that time. And ultimately, our team and staff are recommending including that property as well. That's the one that's shown at the bottom of the table on the right part of this slide. It's at 1500 Hubbard Lane. So we're proposing to include that one as well. So that changes the numbers just a little bit and brings it up to 41.5 acres to be brought into the UGB. Again, an approximately equivalent number to come out. And that equals about 152 projected housing units to be, again, brought into the UGB, or the capacity for that many housing units. And this is just sort of a summary of how the acres and capacity for development are spread across the 3 areas that are proposed for inclusion in the UGB. So we labeled these as Central 1-I, West 1-I, and West 2-I. So kind of what you're seeing here is pretty even distribution across those 3 areas of land and housing units or potential housing units to come into the UGB if those lands are all developed, and kind of a mix of different zoning designations. So opportunities for a variety of different housing types based on the assumed zoning that would be applied in these areas. Now, I will note that the UGB exchange doesn't automatically apply zoning. That would happen at the time of annexation, but we did make some assumptions about potential annexation based on the comprehensive plan designations that would be applied in these areas. A couple more maps for you, or a few more maps for you. This is just showing the proposal. Again, the blue areas are the ones that would be brought into the UGB. The red areas are the ones that would come out. I'll show you kind of zoomed in maps of each of these areas in a moment. And then this is kind of just showing how the boundary would change. So it's, and it gets a little confusing in some of these areas just given where roads and rights of way and things like that are. So we kind of have some zoom ins on those areas as well. This is just showing the comprehensive plan designations within the city and kind of noting that which ones would be applied in these areas. Generally, it's going to be one of your residential designations, either the LR or the MR, that would be applied to the areas that are brought into the UGB. And then I'm just going to quickly kind of go through zoomed in maps of the areas that would be taken out or brought into the UGB. So this is one of the exclusion areas. It's up at the end of Park Hill Lane. And so the first few are exclusion areas, and then the rest are the inclusion areas. This is what we call the South 1X exclusion area. This would be portions of a couple of properties that are west of the Highline Canal. They're going to be difficult to serve and difficult to extend public facilities across. We looked at potentially excluding a property or two to the south, but those owners said, no, we'd really like to stay in. But the owners of the properties here were okay with those portions coming out. This is another one that's kind of down near, also down near the Highline Canal and on Dowell Road that's being proposed to come out. And then these properties are up on Glencrest Way. There were 6 properties we looked at initially for potentially removing from the UGB. A couple of those properties, folks said, no, we would like to stay in. But the other 4 folks said, yeah, we're okay with those coming out. And so those are also ones that are a little harder to get to, a little harder to serve, and somewhat, less disconnected, at least in terms of road access to other properties. In terms of the ones now, the next 3 slides are the areas that would come into the UGB. So this one we called Central-1-I. These are up off of Hudson Lane. So each of the properties where you kind of see the address are the ones that would be brought in. So there's 4 properties here. And then we've got a couple of properties near Leonard Road, north and south, that would be brought in as well. This is the West 1-I area. And then the third area for being brought into the UGB is off of Hubbard Lane, west of Hubbard Lane and south of Redwood Avenue. And that one in the top right corner is the one that was added subsequent to the Planning Commission meeting, based on the testimony of the property owner there. So there's a number of properties here that are proposed to be brought in. So that's about it for my presentation. I think, I want to note a couple of next steps. One, because this is an exchange of land in and out of the urban growth boundary, this would have to be approved ultimately by both the City Council and also the Josephine County Board of Commissioners. And so we have a hearing scheduled with the county board on May 19th for them to get a similar presentation and make a decision then as well. Again, we're talking about taking land and moving it into or out of the urban growth boundary. So that, doesn't lead automatically to that land being in the city limits. That would come through annexation processes similar to the hearing you had a moment ago. And then rezoning and map amendments for those purposes, and then subsequently development proposals. So that's all kind of out in the future, of course. And we're really just talking about creating the opportunities for those other processes to move forward if the property owners initiate them. So I will stop there. I think I'll stop sharing my screen, but if you want to see any part of that, I can put it back up.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything else to add?
It's just, it's a little bit out of order, but the call to action would be page 21 of your staff report. Lists the recommended motions for the comp plan UGB amendment.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions from council? Rick and then Seth, or just Rick?
Thank you, Matt. Could you go to slide number 12 on updated recommendations?
Yes, let me reshare the presentation. Just one moment.
Okay.
All right, hopefully that worked and y'all can see that again. And slide number 12.
It's the one that stated updated recommendations.
Yep. Yes, there we go.
So
that one, right?
for inclusion and exclusions, the housing capacity for the updated inclusion is 152.3 and exclusions 124.6. Was a traffic study done to show the difference in the impact?
We did not conduct any traffic studies for this proposal. That would be done at the time of either annexation or a development proposal. I will say again that because the inclusion areas and the exclusion areas are kind of spread out around different parts of the city, one, you'd have a fairly limited, I would say, impact from traffic in these areas, because we're just talking about, in each of the three areas, about 12 to 14 acres and about 50 housing units that could be built over a long period of time. And because we don't know exactly how many units would be built, there's not a development proposal on the table. We didn't do and wouldn't typically for this kind of project do a traffic study. You would also, again, this is all kind of in terms of potential future development, but you would have a potential reduction, in trips for houses that wouldn't any longer have the opportunity to be developed. But we didn't do a traffic study, and we didn't kind of compare how many trips might be added and how many trips might not be added because those properties weren't going to be developed. But that would be something that would be done in a subsequent stage, I would say.
Okay, so last question, in the subsequent stage, when the property owner comes in to develop it, they could be subject to a traffic study. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah. And I defer to Mark just in terms of what are the thresholds for doing a traffic study, but typically, yeah, you would do that if it's projected to have more than a certain number of trips generated.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions from council? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time. At this point, we will open it up to public. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry, I missed your hand there. Come on up to the mic and state your name, and you got a couple. Oh, sorry, over the podium there, sir. Should be a red light on the mic, and state your name and.
Good evening. My name is Grant Yonser, 2200 Northeast Industry Drive, and I represent Northridge Construction and Druthers Construction. We've been working with city planning staff for over a year on this urban reserve swap, and they're pretty familiar with what we're trying to do in other projects that we're working on, in addition to some of the lands that we have that would be included here. So Trinidad thought it would be a good idea for me to come tell you why we're so excited about it. In 2023, we owned a piece of property on the corner of 9th and Hillcrest, and it allowed for relatively narrow residential lots to be built and developed. So we took the opportunity to see if we could build smaller, more affordable homes. It's a little scary stepping outside what you're used to, but our typical entry-level single-family home has been selling for about $440,000 to $460,000. And it's just feeling like it's too much for so many people to bear. So what percentage of the population is just priced out is we're starting to become sensitive to. So we took a shot up there and we built homes in the 12 to 1,400 square foot range. We did not sacrifice on quality. So we utilized the flexibility of some of the new codes. And the middle housing code is something that we're also working on in future projects. But with smarter designs, the boxes are a little more simplified. We spent more of the architecture on the front, not so much on the sides and the backs. We were able to sell those new homes ranging from $350,000 to $380,000. So we've shaved $80,000 off the cost of a new home. And the problem is we're struggling to find more lots to go do that with. And we're going through full city development processes sometimes to get 4, 5, 6 lots at a time, and it's cumbersome. So we own these lands that are sitting on fully developed city streets, utilities, everything ready to go. And so we're really excited about the possibility of doing more blended, where we know that we still have buyers that want to buy in the $450,000 to $480,000 range, but there's so many people we're finding that are really interested and ready to go at $350,000 that we could do larger subdivisions that appeal to everybody. So we're excited as developers to finally go do something about it.
Thank you. So from the private sector, you guys are excited about this?
We are.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak in opposition of this application? Seeing none, I will see if there's any staff questions. Have any final comments? Nope. Okay. The public portion of this is now closed, and the matter will be before the council for consideration. So I bring it back to council for discussion and/or action. Oh, Seth.
Yeah, I just had a point. I grew up in the Redwood Avenue area for 80% of my life, and anyone that lives out there, you probably know that it's a highly trafficked road, especially Hubbard and, well, both Redwood Highway and Redwood Avenue. So I'm excited about this. I'm for it. I would just say that I'd recommend council, when it does come up for development, to recommend a traffic study, especially on Hubbard Lane and Redwood Avenue. It's a notorious intersection for T-bones and all kind of accidents. People go fast out there. So anyways, that's just my one concern about it. But other than that, yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Andrea?
Yes, I'm excited. It's for this project and other, we're seeing in our last meeting too, we're starting to build homes, which are desperately needed here, affordable homes. So I'm really happy to finally see builders and developers be able to bring their projects to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, be looking to council for any action. Rick?
I move to adopt the ordinance amending the urban growth boundary and the comprehensive plan map for properties related to the urban reserve and urban growth boundary by title only, first reading.
All right, we have a motion on the table for first reading and a second from Seth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will go roll call vote for a motion for first reading. Victoria?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously for first reading.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass amending the urban growth boundary and comprehensive plan map for properties related to the urban reserve and urban growth boundary.
Thank you. All right, bring it back to council for a further discussion or action. Kathleen?
I move to adopt the ordinance amending the urban growth boundary and comprehensive plan map for properties related to the urban reserve and urban growth boundary by title only, a second reading.
Thank you. We have a motion for second reading with a second from Victoria. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we do a roll call vote. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
Unanimously passes for second reading. Thank you.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass amending the urban growth boundary and comprehensive plan map for properties related to the urban reserve and urban growth boundary.
Thank you. Okay, following down the agenda, we have a council action for ordinance amending our code. And I'm not going to read the whole big old thing because we will be reading it later. I'm going to start off with a staff presentation.
Not on, there we go. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Stephanie Nuttall, City Attorney. We're here today to talk about the code amendments related to authorized resting sites. There are two separate council action items that will actually be addressed as part of this presentation. The ordinance amending the municipal code is item 2A on your agenda, and then there's a resolution that would identify authorized resting sites. That's listed as item 2B. I believe there was some potential discussion of moving it to 2E, but it's potentially 2B. So
Correct.
Hopefully we can deal with them together and clarify things. Council's action regarding the resolution will depend on what actions taken with the ordinance, so we have to address them in that order. So first we have our ordinance to declare an emergency and consolidate restrictions on camping in city parks from Grants Pass Municipal Code Chapter 5.61, prohibited camping, into Chapter 6.46, parks. Chapter 5.61 would continue to prohibit sleeping on sidewalks, streets, alleys, or in doorways. And we'll talk more in detail about the actual specific changes here shortly. And then the resolution would then identify those sites in accordance with the revised municipal code provision. So it wouldn't be changing anything that we're already doing, it's just cleaning up the language. This action supports council's goal of leadership by amending the city laws to clarify and consolidate the laws regarding use of city parks and authorized resting sites. And it would amend the laws as to sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry outdoors on public property to be objectively reasonable as to time, place, and manner with regard to persons experiencing homelessness. And that's to be consistent with state statute. There are no additional cost implications anticipated as a result of either the ordinance amendment or the resolution. And just so that we have the background as part of the record for this action, this goes back well before actually July 1st of 2023, but that's really what is triggering us to be here today. On that date, ORS 195530 became effective, and it requires that any regulation of sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry outdoors on public property open to the public must be objectively reasonable as to time, place, and manner with regard to persons experiencing homelessness. And that's what keeps tripping so many jurisdictions up. On August 7th of 2024, Council enacted an ordinance restricting camping on city property, and that was codified as Grants Pass Municipal Code 5.61. On October 2nd of 2024, Council established camping sites at 7th Street and J Street, and a few months later, on January 7th, Council closed the J Street site. That triggered, on January 30th of 2025, Disability Rights Oregon filing a suit seeking injunctive and declaratory relief. And a temporary restraining order was issued at that time, preventing the city from enforcing the camping provisions of 5.61. On March 28th, the court granted a preliminary injunction, again prohibiting the city from enforcing the laws that were on its books. But the court did provide that if the city returned to the 150 site capacity with ADA compliance, that preliminary injunction could potentially be lifted. In the order regarding that injunction, the court did express some concerns about the broad language and some context-based interpretations that are found in the city's code. So in order to get the injunction lifted, we needed to meet the 150 capacity with ADA compliance, which the council has already done. On April 16th, the camping sites exceeded 150 and ADA compliance has been established. And all that's left to do is clarify that language before we can ask the court to move forward with getting rid of the injunction. So we'll start with the code revisions. The purpose of this is to clarify restrictions and address the court's concerns regarding the broad language and context-based interpretation. Many of the key components of 5.61, the ordinance on prohibited camping, where it was incorporated into 6.46, which is parks. It seemed odd to have something about what you can and can't do in parks and then a whole separate chapter in a different location that also addressed the same thing. So consolidating those made sense in this case. There's a little bit of new language based on experience since we put in the original code, but the majority of the language is just moving things from one place to another and clarifying what we're trying to do. Very few substantive changes. So with that, I'm going to walk through the documents we have before us today. And I'm going to start with the actual ordinance itself. And I'm going to apologize in advance to whoever makes motions regarding this or has to read it for the record, because that title is terrible, but I couldn't find a way around having to lay it out this way, so, and I tried. But this is the ordinance that is needed to make changes to the code. And it also includes the emergency clause, which would allow the ordinance to take immediate effect upon passage. And I know there were questions when we talked about this the questions had come up about the emergency clause since we met on Monday, so I wanted to address that here. That is included right here. It says an emergency is hereby declared to exist in the interest of public peace, health, and safety of the city of Grants Pass. And that's what statute says can let us have this take effect immediately rather than waiting the standard 30 days. So that is the ordinance itself. And then the changes that would be enacted based on that code. We'll start with 5.61. So I'm just going to walk through the red line. It looks more painful than it is. Again, a lot of this is just moving language around. The title of Chapter 5.61 would be changed from prohibited camping to sleeping on sidewalks, streets, alleys, or within doorways prohibited. And then the sections, it would basically just renumber what used to be 5.61.020 to 5.61010, and that would be the entirety of the content. That's all the sections that would be left in 5.61. The language, the existing language in 5.61010, that's where we had our definitions. The first four definitions, A through D, those would be repealed entirely. The court found these definitions to be circular and kind of unclear as to what the city was trying to do. And from our, thank you. From our discussions, we've moved towards calling them authorized resting sites, and so this would get rid of the camping references and move more towards that resting sites. The definitions that remain, personal property and relocate, those two definitions are going to be moved to the new sections in 6.46. This is the language that would remain. The language from 5.61030, this first paragraph is really just a restriction on where you can camp. And that language would be moved, well, similar language would be moved to 6.46. The provision about allowing special events would be repealed in its entirety. That can be addressed through different code provisions relating to how we handle events. It doesn't belong in the section about where you can and can't have personal belongings. Paragraph B. This is addressed by the definition of authorized resting site and the prohibition against personal belongings anywhere else that's in 646, and same with paragraph C, that's covered by the definition of relocate. So all of that language was essentially redundant. 5.61050 about removal of campsites on public property, as well as 060 for disposition and release of property, and 070 mitigation and penalties. That text is copied and pasted into 6.46. So we'll talk about that shortly. So that's what we did with, or what we're suggesting with 5.61. 6.46 is the meatier component of this. So, and just to clarify, 6.46045 and through 400 that are referenced in the list here, nothing is changing with those. They're just, the text just wasn't included in the documents before you because there's no changes being made. So moving down to 6.46020. The proposal here is to change this to a definitions section. There was a definition of portable structures further down in chapter 6.46. There's definitions that are being brought over from 5.61. We want to make sure that the definitions are spelled out before you get into any of the substantive changes in the rest of the chapter. So it's just moving things around for the most part. There's no substantive changes to definitions of parks. It's just changing it to authorized resting sites from camping locations. The authorized resting site, this is a new definition, but it is based on the existing language in 5.61.030, which prohibits camping without council resolution or city manager declaration. This just changes that to it being done, it being called an authorized resting site. And then it also adds a requirement that when council designates an authorized resting site, they have to put a time limitation on that people can stay there. So it's not going to be open, it's always going to have a time limit. The definition of personal property is copied from 5.61, and then it also clarifies that it includes portable structures. The portable structure definition is moved from a different area in 6.46 and hasn't changed. And relocate is, again, it's a copy and paste from 5.61, just cleaning up the references within it. 6.46.040, titled Utilization of Open City Park Space. There were substantive changes here to remove the resting site specific provisions, the ones that identify spatial footprint. Those are going to be in their own separate section because they don't apply to all parks. This would apply to all sites that are defined as parks. And it adds in a general prohibition against living, sleeping, or leaving personal property in a park overnight except at authorized resting sites without written approval. So that would be your blanket prohibition against doing it except in places that you can, that have been specifically designated. The 6.46041 would become authorized resting sites, and that would be those specific provisions related to those designated sites. It includes the existing provision about limited to a spatial footprint of 8 by 8 feet, takes out some redundant language in there and says that no individual can have more than a single 8 by 8 spatial footprint. The proposal would amend the buffer between those sites to 3 feet. It is currently 6 feet, but with experience, we've determined that 3 feet would be sufficient buffer between those sites. And then it would add a new provision that says that no personal property can be hung, draped, suspended, or otherwise attached to anything other than an individual's own property. So you can't hang things from city property, fences, vegetation, barriers, any of those things. And as we discussed on Monday, that's to some extent a safety risk. You don't want things blowing off of a fence onto a passing motor vehicle. So we just need to make sure that it's not coming off of city property if something happens. And then the last piece of that is the length of stay restrictions, and that an individual has to relocate once that length of stay restriction has been met. The buffers from park amenities component, that was already in existing 6.46. It's just renumbered to .042. It allows the city manager or their designee to provide for exceptions if it's appropriate to do so. And we did add in an exception to protect spectators or athletes during athletic events at baseball or softball fields, soccer fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, pickleball courts, because it can get pretty brutal in the sun in the summers here. So having a little bit of shade for our athletes is helpful. But otherwise, it doesn't change the actual buffers themselves. We also added in, which appeared to be an oversight when the original code was written, that 7th Street Bridge should also be an exclusion where you can't have portable structures under the 7th Street Bridge, and then included again the exception where you can get written approval from the city managers or their designee if appropriate. The last section is 6.46, or not quite last section, but close, .043 about the removal, disposition, and release of personal property from parks. The first piece is new for us. Individuals or personal property found overnight in a park other than an authorized resting site shall be removed immediately. And I'm going to talk briefly about this one. We think that we can exclude these because parks here are considered day use. They're for day use and recreation. So the provisions of 195.505 about notice requirements should not apply to those. But we want to make sure that it's clear in our code that we can take care of that. Where we do allow those established campsites, which is what they would be called in the statute, that would be upon expiration of the length of stay period at those sites, then we would have to follow the notice requirements of Oregon statute. So this separates those two things out so that we can make sure that we're able to clean up where we can and let the notice requirements apply elsewhere. The rest of this, the disposition and release, as well as the mitigation and penalties, this is just language that was copied over from 5.61. And then the last piece I'm going to touch on is if those ordinance amendments are passed, then we would need to also redo the resolution. So I know we were here 3 weeks ago and established 4 resting sites. This would just incorporate the new language into exactly what was done on the 16th. So, and then again, this paragraph 3 allows us to make sure that those are temporary. We're not required to have them. We're not required to keep them. We can change them at any time. And go back to, so I will jump back to my presentation. And the call to action date is today. If you feel like we need to do some more work on this, you can defer this. Your alternatives tonight are you can approve the ordinance amendments and resolution as written, implement minor adjustments to the ordinance amendments or resolution and approve it, direct staff to research and/or develop additional or alternative ordinance amendments and/or resolution language for future meetings, or not approve the ordinance amendments or resolution. I do recommend that we move forward on this so that we can keep meeting our goals. And if that is your choice, then I have a potential motion, which is unwieldy, I realize, but we do have language for that, and I also have language for the resolution as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. Bring it back to council. Do you guys have any questions for Stephanie in her presentation? Seth?
Yeah, you just mentioned there's a section that has verbiage that does not require us to have authorized resting sites for an indefinite amount of time? Or
If we have authorized resting sites, we have to set a time period within which someone can be in those. That's where the 96 hours that we refer to. We don't have to have authorized resting sites necessarily, but state statute says if we're going to regulate where people can do things, then we have to have some mechanism.
Yeah, okay, so I understand that. So I understand that there's a time limit when we have them, but I'm just curious if we can add. I don't want to get into a situation where, you know, we authorize resting sites and then it's not in the code where we can actually revoke them.
So the way it would work is the resolution says we are designating this as an authorized resting site. The time period is 96 hours. So then at the 96-hour mark, then law enforcement would put a notice there, and by state statute, then they have 72 hours to comply with that notice to relocate. And if they don't, then we can remove.
Okay,
I don't think you're getting the question. I think his question is sorry to interrupt, but I think I'm going to get it for you. You made a statement in there in the code. It says that the definition of temporary within, I think that's what he's getting at, for the actual site.
Okay.
Not the 8x8 site, but the actual resting area.
There's nothing in the actual ordinance itself that says that these are temporary. The temporary nature of it comes from the fact that they're established by resolution. So by resolution, the council can change those at any time.
Did that get closer to your question?
Yes.
Thank you. Rick and then Indra.
Thank you, Stephanie. Could you pull up 6.46042 on portable structures?
Okay.
Okay, under Section A, I just want clarification. So it's typical for Riverside Park to be used for a car show. So individuals coming in for the show will bring their own portable structures for shade. Does that need to be each structure listed, or can it just be a blanket policy for that one day that's approved by the city manager?
I'm not 100% familiar about how events work, but that's something that could be authorized as part of an event.
Okay.
So they could say that your event attendees could have these things as part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Indra?
Yes, I think I just want to clarify Seth's question. So the ordinance has the language of authorized resting sites, but that does not mandate that we have to have them.
Correct.
Any further questions? Kathleen?
So if I'm understanding correctly, is this language change and cleaning this up helpful for our case and moving forward with removing the injunction?
Yes, this is one of there were 3 components that the attorney that's representing us for the litigation asked for. This is the 3rd one.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Stephanie. At this time, we will open for public comment. Anybody wants to come to the podium and weigh in on this topic that we're talking about? You can come up to the podium, state your name, and you got 2 minutes.
This is not about site selection. This is about the ordinance. Site selection will be during the resolution.
And we'll have to keep this to the topic. This is only about the resolution and our rules and codes.
Well,
we do have other
what
topics.
I'm curious about is, I'm a 20-year Army veteran. I'm a 70-year-old man. I've lived in this city and county since 1968. I just currently became homeless in October. So I'm across the street. Why am I being treated like a common criminal now?
Do you have a question or a statement about the code that we're putting in place?
I don't understand it. That's why I'm here.
Well, we can get a copy to you. If you leave us a note, we can get you a copy of the ordinance once we get it adopted.
All right, I would appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
It just seems us veterans are being treated like criminals.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Thank you.
Any further people want to step up in regards to this topic about the code? And please state your name before you start. Thank you.
Shoney Nelson, Grants Pass, Oregon. Mine is just, does it need to be in there for the code if, like, for example, they're a felon at the time and they come into the camp? Is there anything that can be put in there to where, I mean, I know, like, personally, if I go to the KYA, right? I have to get out my driver's license and I have to tell people who they are and they can actually do a check. That way, if I go in there, I don't start a fire, I don't have a machete, I'm not a felon, and I don't have a gun that's been stolen from someone else. It's just a thought that might help when you get in there, you know, to maybe ID them, if that's something that can just be written in that as well. I don't know how that goes legally. It was just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Come on up, state your name and give us your comment. You got 2 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Lionheart. It's my street name. I've been staying over here at the 6th Street encampment. And, pardon?
All of us have to put our names out there.
So, our Declaration of Independence states, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Hey, Lionheart, I do apologize. You're going to have to either have a statement or question about our code.
You know,
it's
I'm
not
getting
time
there.
for pontificating.
It's coming there as well, right? I have my First Amendment right to be able to share for 2 minutes my thoughts.
Not at this point. It has to be on this topic related. If it's not, you can't just pontificate.
It is this.
Because there will be an open public session later for you to come up and pontificate. If you don't have comments directly related to the code that we're adopting right now, I'm going to have to ask you to step down.
Can you wait more than 10 seconds for the relationship to formulate?
Sure, go right ahead.
I appreciate that. We are all created equal, okay? We have inalienable rights that have been given to us. I believe that we who are staying in the camps are being treated significantly differently than other people, okay? There is a portion of this amendment that talks specifically about people not being able to provide shade for themselves. It's one of the main reasons that people go to the parks, is because it's significantly cooler. If you are instigating this and requiring people to go stay on black asphalt, their tents are going to be very, very hot. I recorded the temperature in my tent yesterday with 4 different thermometers at 114.5 was the average. If any of you thought it was reasonable and objective to live and stay in a place that was 114.5 degrees, I would think that you didn't think you were equal or we were equal. There's a very limited zone for us to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I would hope, especially in regards to Oregon law and our experience, that you would please do some type of an impact study based on the lived experience of people in these places. I appreciate your time. Hopefully that was relevant enough for you.
It was. Thank you very much, sir.
You bet.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
David Dapper, city resident. We see how these animals live.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to have to say the same thing. If it's not relevant to this code, you got another section and later in we can pontificate.
Well, we start with the same, but we drug ourselves, some of us, into the useless abyss.
Okay, one last call. Does anybody else want to come up and have public comment in regards to this code that we're adopting at this moment in time?
If I have a question, does that take away from my other time?
No, this is public comment related to the topic at hand, which is the code that we are amending and we are adopting, or
Okay, so
trying
it's
to.
Cynthia Briseno.
Thank you.
My question is the definition of ADA, is there a way to define or ask if ADA is one thing and homelessness seems to be another? Is there a way to define what's ADA?
Sorry to say that that's not written in this part of the code, so we can't answer that question at this moment in time.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further public comment in regards to the code that we have on the table right now? All right, thank you very much. At this moment in time, I'll bring it back to council for further discussion and or action. One more time, I'll bring it back to council for further discussion or action. Rob?
I'd like to make a potential motion, or a motion. And Stephanie, you're saying that I need to read this paragraph, or you had a shorter way to do it? That's fine. I move to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 5.61, prohibited camping, repealing Section 5.61.010, definitions, repealing Section 5.61.030, camping prohibited, repealing Section 5.61.050, removal of campsite on public property, repealing Section 5.61.060, disposition and release of personal property, repealing Section 5.61.070, mitigation, amending Section 5.46.020, parks described, amending Section 6.46040, utilization of open city park space, amending Section 6.46.041, portable structures, buffers from park amenities, adding Section 6.46.042, portable structure buffers from park amenities, adding Section 6.46.043, removal, disposition, and release of personal property from parks, adding Section 6.46.044, mitigation and penalties, and declaring an emergency, and have it read by title only, first reading.
Thank you very much, Rob. That was amazing.
Second.
There's a motion on the table at this moment in time, and I have a second from Victoria. Any further discussion? Indra.
Yes, this is just a very minor friendly amendment, but I saw that Stephanie went to great lengths to capitalize personal property throughout that. So I wanted to point out on page 220, B, 043B, all halfway through that big paragraph, all personal property, it's not capitalized, so we could make that change now.
That's a Scribner's error. We'd be able to correct that.
That would be a correction that staff could make without being a friendly amendment to that. Because as Aaron said, it's kind of a typo. Any further discussion? Eric.
Just wanted to point out on slide 5 there, it said January 7th, 2025, council closes J Street. It was not caused by us closing J Street. That suit was always coming. So I just want to put that out there. That's all. Point of correction.
Thank you, Eric. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we have a motion for First Amendment with a second in regards to this ordinance change, code amendment change, and we'll go to roll call vote. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Unanimously passes for first reading.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass, amending Grants Pass Municipal Code 5.61, prohibited camping, repealing Section 5.61.010, definitions, repealing Section 5.61.030, camping prohibited, repealing Section 5.61.050, removal of campsite on public property, repealing Section 5.61.060, disposition and release of personal property, repealing Section 5.61.070, mitigation, amending Section 6.46.020, parks described, amending Section 6.46.040, utilization of open city park space, amending Section 6.46.041, portable structures, buffers from park amenities, adding Section 6.46.042, portable structure, buffers from park amenities, adding Section 6.46.043, removal, disposition, and release of personal property from parks, adding Section 6.46.044, mitigation and penalties, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. All right, I'll bring it back to council for further discussion and/or action. Indra.
Motion to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 5.61, prohibited camping, repealing Section 5.61010, definitions, repealing Section 5.61030, camping prohibited, repealing Section 5.61050, removal of campsite on public property, repealing Section 5.61060, disposition and release of personal property, repealing Section 5.61.070, 4.0 mitigation, amending section 5.46.020 parks described, amending section 6.46.040 utilization of open city park space, amending section 6.46.041 portable structures, buffers from park amenities, adding section 6.46042 portable structure buffers from park amenities, adding section 6.46.043 removal, disposition, and release of personal property from parks, adding section 6.46.044 mitigation and penalties, and declaring an emergency and having it read by title only, second reading.
Thank you, Indra. Do we have a second? Seth seconds. So you have a motion for second reading, motion for second reading with a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Victoria?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Rob? Yes. Rick?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Unanimously passes for second reading. I'm sorry.
All right, here we go. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass, amending Grants Pass Municipal Code 5.61 prohibited camping, repealing section 5.61.010 definitions, repealing section 5.61.030 camping prohibited, repealing section 5.61050 removal of campsite on public property, repealing section 5.61.060 disposition and release of personal property, repealing section 5.61.070 mitigation, amending section 6.46.020 parks described, amending section 6.46.040 utilization of open city park space, amending section 6.46.010 portable structures, buffers from park amenities, adding section 6.46.042 portable structure, buffers from park amenities, adding section 6.46.030 removal, disposition, and release of personal property from parks, adding section 6.46.044 mitigation and penalties, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I's crossed and T's dotted. Thank you very much. Next council action is we're actually moving an agenda item up, a resolution identifying authorized resting sites in accordance with ordinance number 25-59-29. And I will hand it over to Stephanie again.
This was already covered as part of the presentation, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Thank you, Stephanie. Steph, any further questions in regards to the resolution at hand? Seeing none, thank you very much. At this moment in time, there's an opportunity for public to comment on the resolution on topic at this moment in time, which would be authorizing the resting sites as previously stated, 6th Street, 7th Street, and the two additional ones next to 6th Street, sorry. Anybody from the public want to speak in regards to the council adopting these resting sites? Step up, please, and state your name, and you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Cynthia Briseño. I believe the property on F Street across from Walmart would be where the jail is, would be a much more conducive spot than the 6th and 7th Street locations. The property is grass with lots of trees and shade for them. It's not spent. If there is an issue with the police, the police and sheriffs are there to help them. Even now, the houseless have moved back into our parks, spreading their trash and needles, not only endangering our children, but also taking away the opportunity to exercise and enjoy our family outings. I understand that the county owns the property, but it's within the city limits, and so the issue needs to be started here with you. As our representatives, you need to take this to the county commissioners and work this out. Using this location at the jail gives the businesses a chance to recuperate and a reprieve from the homeowners and business owners in the downtown area that are dependent upon the tourism industry. It also protects the Child Advocacy Center at the A Street encampment that is now having to deal with fires, fights, and endangering lives. You seem to have no sympathy for the citizens and the businesses being victimized and harmed by the houseless. Let's be clear, who are you supporting and fighting for? We campaigned for you, we spent hours volunteering for you and voted for you. I want the businesses and tax-paying citizens and owners to be in the city that follows the rule of law and the city that is safe for all of us and our families like it once was. We have an ownership right to quiet enjoyment of our properties that's been taken away due to the lack of standing ground and fighting for us. Do we as citizens need to band together and file suit against the city just as the houseless have done? What you are doing is taking care of those that are destroying our homes, our businesses, and our very way of life. Your actions have jeopardized our families, our community, and put us all in harm's way. We will not support this temporary situation any further. Stand and fight for us. This is why we elected you. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get anybody else? Step up, state your name, and you have 2 minutes in regards to the council adopting the new resting sites.
Yes, Mike Pelfrey, city resident. What I would like to, priority number one is I would like to make sure that we get the homeless out of the parks, which I believe that's what these resting sites are designed to do. However, I am not overly thrilled with being able to have these resting sites slap in the middle of our city. So what I hope the city, what I hope our leaders will do is let's move forward with what we've got on the table now. Because I think the biggest priority right now facing us is getting our homeless out of our parks. I've called the cops at least 8 times since Tuesday, and I'm sick and tired of dialing that number. So that's priority number one. But number two, what I would also hope that you'll do is be proactive and look at other places down the road that we could possibly move these folks that they're not present in the middle of our city, because I have a feeling that it is going to be a nightmare for the local businesses downtown. So the example that I use is that it's a lot easier to find a job when you have a job. The same thing, it's a lot easier to solve this problem down the road when we can take care of this right now. And then let's work on getting them out of the center of our city. And then hopefully further than that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to please step up to the microphone, state your name, and you got 2 minutes. Topic is regarding the resting sites that the council is adopting.
My name's Philip King.
If you want to pull the mic down so we can hear you a little bit better, sir, thank you.
My name is Philip King. I'm a property owner across the street here. We've been dealing with cleaning garbage and needles and bits of tin foil. Our place, part of it was for rent, and only when it looked like you were dismantling the site here did we find somebody that wanted to rent it, and then all of a sudden they're back on steroids. This is the gateway to our town, to our commercial center, and it's just the bad look for Grants Pass. Coming in, that's what you see. Leaving, that's what you see. And it's just lowering our property value. It's just not a good fit for our town that we all love so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Step up to the mic, state your name, and keep your topics to the topic at hand, please, or comments to the topic
Leva
at hand.
Herrera.
Thank you.
So the expansion to this village over here, I'm just trying to keep it clean here. So I don't know if you're familiar with the law office that sits right behind it. I was there in a meeting this last week, and I was so distracted out the window, and I could see where the expansion is going to take place and will then completely surround this property. You know, I don't know if you guys have considered, you know, there are some property owners that are in a lot worse situation than others in the sense of right in it 24/7 and what effects it has on those properties. You know, I would suggest that the city do something, especially for these blatant properties, like the yellow attorney's office right behind this campsite here, maybe put in some extra cameras to help them, in their situation, because everybody in that building is probably locked and loaded, if you know what I mean, and living in a different type of world. And so I would like to make that recommendation, because that particular attorney is a, well-known contributor to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up, sir. State your name again and keep your comments to the topic at hand, which is adjust.
Yeah,
Go ahead, sir.
I'm Glenn Allen.
Yes,
like
sir.
I say, I've lived here a long time. There are other properties I have noticed here in town. There's a big lot, catty corner from the old Greyhound bus station. There's a big lot right behind the BMX track. I mean, they've been sitting there empty for 20 years that I know of. And I don't know what can be done, but those are possible alternatives to what's going on now. I mean, I understand what's going on over here, and it's not pretty. I'm a non-drug user, but I have to put on shoes to make sure I don't step on uncapped needles, and that bothers me. But thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further comments? Come on up. Again, state your name and keep your comments to the topic at hand. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Shoney Nelson, Grants Pass, Oregon. And actually, I wanted to play the devil's advocate this time. Sounded like everything was negative, so I wanted to make something a little positive. I feel really sorry for your job, Mrs. Nuttall. If I screwed up your name, I'm sorry. But you guys have done a really good job with the shit that you've got to deal with, honestly. I look at Portland, and Portland really doesn't have what we have. They don't have reasonably debatable. For all y'all's things that you came up here today that you've got, and the things that you've dumped here, what was your solution? What do you have that is not reasonably debatable? You sit here and you lay it at them. And you know what? We're supposed to be in this together. We're a community. Grants Pass. I know we used to be a community. When did that change? Okay? Now, I know that it is a big deal. 2 days ago, I was in Tussing Park. And why? Because y'all aren't going to chase me out of Tussing Park. I don't mean y'all. I mean the addicts and the mentally unstable are not going to chase me out. I guess they're called unhomed or that type of thing, or the homeless. All right? But I had a dog attack my son in Tussing Park 2 days ago, a pit bull, because I like to go down to the river. I got told by someone else, which was interesting, who likes to go to Tussing. And she said, because I have children, she said, that is putting your children in danger. That's child endangerment. I said, really? Is that on me? Or is that on the city? Or who's that on? Because parks are for families and for children, not for addicts camping in a tent. So if I am the one endangering my children, then I think that falls on y'all and some others that are making the changes, not myself. You have an amazing day.
Thank you, Sean. That was a little off topic, but yeah, I saw we were getting back to it. Anybody else in the audience? Come on, step up. Again, state your name. You got 2 minutes in regards to this topic. Thank you.
My name's Mike Servin. I live right over here across from the expansion. And I'll have a lot more to say about this during the public comment, but I just want to reiterate what we talked about last council meeting about how the injustice of putting all of the camps in one place and not sharing that burden around the city. You all know the risks, and you've consolidated them into our front yard with zero concern for our safety or any provision for our health or safety at all. And I'd also like to say it's very painful to sit in these meetings and listen to how much public notification goes on for annexations and urban growth boundary adjustments when no one notified us about anything. It would have gone a long way before you approved this last meeting or before you're about to approve it again to come to the local properties that would be severely affected by this and at least say, what can we do to help? We've had nothing, no communication. And that's not right, because this affects our property values a whole lot more than an annexation or an urban growth boundary adjustment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? And we do want to kind of abide by the same public comments rules we do for general public. We don't want applause and clapping, apologize, but we got to keep a little decorum here, and we want to keep this going, and we want to respect everybody that comes up there and give them their time. Any further comments from the public? Come on up. Thank you. State your name, and you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening.
You dropped your
I'm
glasses,
Kate
ma'am.
Huckert, and I dropped my glasses. I live right across the street from the camp that you want to approve, and I want to talk about cost. I'm looking at a personal cost of about $10,000 for fencing, security cameras, lighting, electricity, and God knows what else. I have a whole list. But if this is, someone said this was cost-free. It's not cost-free because you haven't provided any security for me, any safety, any guarantee of my safety. Me, personally, my child, my home, my business, all of this is affected, and so I don't feel that this is a good position to be putting that camp. It doesn't make sense to put it right there. So cost-wise, security-wise, safety-wise, none of it adds up. So it's really concerning because the word temporary just keeps getting floated around, and it makes no sense what temporary actually means. But it's really scary because I don't know if I'm going to get murdered in my bed, in my house, or walking my dog. I mean, like, this is really serious because it's right in my face. Nobody talked to me, nobody asked, nobody mentioned that they cared. The mayor made some approaches later after we spoke up, but I mean, come on, guys, you can't put it in the middle of town. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Come on up to the podium, state your name, and you have 2 minutes, please.
My name is Holly Reyes. I'm a resident and business owner in downtown Grants Pass. I live right on 5th Street. And we are already completely overrun with the way the camp is right now. Now you are tripling the size of it. My safety is in jeopardy. My pets are scared to death. I can't walk in my own neighborhood. I have people going through my trash every single day. I've got, people up and down yelling, screaming all night long. I don't know what you guys are thinking to triple the size in a residential area. We have elderly people, we have children, we have high schoolers trying to get the bus on our street, and we're gonna triple the size? How many stabbings are we up to now in the last few weeks? I think we're up to like 4 stabbings. We've had guns pulled, we've had rapes. We are not safe. I can't afford all this fancy stuff. What am I supposed to do to protect my home and myself and my well-being? I can't even go outside and sit on my porch. Are you guys going to help me financially to put security in my house? Are you guys going to hire security for our street? A lot of us, I came with a lot of different residents that they're not all going to speak, but, a lot of us on 5th Street, again, we had no notification of this. You live really close by. I mean, maybe it doesn't go all the way to you, but let me tell you, it's bad. It's really bad on 5th Street, and to triple the size is detrimental to us. Like, who's gonna, my property value, I've been working my whole life to try to pay for this house. I've had this house almost 18 years, and now I'm gonna be, my property value is just completely diminished. This is my livelihood. Are you guys gonna reimburse me for that? This isn't fair, to the citizens. I'm a business owner too. This isn't fair, you guys. Why would we put this in the middle of our town? You guys keep saying it's temporary. What's temporary? How long? You destroyed all the landscaping. I mean, this doesn't look temporary. Nobody's being asked to leave. I know you guys did the verbiage. They have to be out in so many hours. That's not being done.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public in regards to this matter? All right, seeing none, thank you all for your comments. I'm going to bring it back to the council for further discussion and/or action. Indra.
The thing is, if you live near a park, you want them out of the parks because they're bothering you. If you live near the sites, you want them out of the sites because you live there too. I'm very close to this campground, and the sheer numbers, it is frightening. It is frightening, and it's nothing but disaster, and it's going to continue to grow. We are a gateway. I mean, this is a gateway to our downtown where we're trying to have economic growth. And who's going to want to go there? I don't know. It's also, we just designated 2 blocks and further as a historical neighborhood. This camp is right by a newly designated historical neighborhood. Home values are horrible. Safety is not good. I am disturbed that the city has not reached out in advance or warned, or it was my understanding with the last vote, I voted no, that there would be some concessions or speaking with the residents or businesses to help them. But I'm really disappointed that nothing's been done. It is not fair. It's not fair. We have a big city, and they're all conglomerated in this area. 7th Street, A Street. It's not right. And so, you know, getting them out of the parks, I get it. Like, I want to get the injunction off. That's really important. And that would get them out of the parks, but that does not get them out of these dangerous zones. And you're right, we don't know what is temporary. It could go, who knows, for months. We don't know. We don't even know if the injunction will be lifted yet when we do this. We're hoping, but I feel for you, and I just can't vote for it.
Thank you. Seth?
Yeah, this is a tough subject. I think I mentioned this at the last council meeting, but I really just want to encourage everyone here and beyond to reach out to the governor's office of Oregon, Tina Kotek. I'll say it again, I'll say it every meeting. I was just up in Coos Bay last week at the League of Oregon Cities conference, and I attended a seminar on House Bill 3115, it's real, right? And I think that bill was actually introduced by Tina Kotek when she was Speaker of the House. There was actually a Senate bill introduced this current session to work on repealing that bill, and it got completely shot down. So that is a major issue that causes a lot of issues here in Grants Pass that we don't have a lot of control over, to be completely honest with you. And I hear all of you. I mean, I'm the president of the board of Main Street Grants Pass downtown. It's not good, right? I hear it all day. And so I think all of us up here are working to find a sustainable path forward, but please reach out to the governor's office, because I don't think without that public comment going towards them, we're not going to get anywhere, because this is only going to continue throughout Oregon. We're just the guinea pig right now.
Don't ignore our city.
Thank you. Rick?
The last time this came before us, I voted no. I recognize the fact we need a resting site, and I recognize the fact this needs to be expedited. So while I am for the resting site, I'm not in favor of this location. And also, we need to move forward in an expeditious manner to find a resolution and resolve our problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Indra?
I would just like to hear from the chief. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would kind of like to know, and I think the public would like to know, what's going on at A Street. Like, what are you seeing there, and are you, what would you recommend as far as the number of people in one camp? If you can speak to that, is that okay?
Is this getting kind of out of the bandwidth of what we're trying to do here?
Well, I think recommendations on sites and or number of sites is somewhat of a policy decision by council. I think the chief would feel more comfortable being able to respond to maybe some activities that are occurring in and around. We can give you statistics. We can pull those together through our crime analyst to get you some of that information. And I'm not sure if the chief has anything to add today that's pertinent to maybe activities that are occurring at the resting sites.
I think I can answer your question for you and be respectful of council's decision-making procedures. And I'm confident the community probably wants to hear this as well. Bottom line, it's not good. We are call to call in general. We have limited staffing, and we've been dealing with homelessness issues for 5-6 years. And it's difficult to juggle everything that's happening around here to maintain everybody's rights and to treat everybody with dignity and respect, but also be fair and firm in enforcement. We have significantly stepped up our enforcement over the last couple of weeks, couple months. It ebbs and flows. However, we've seen I won't say significant increase, because calls for service have actually stayed fairly stagnant and steady from community, somewhere into 33,000 to 36,000 calls per year continue to come in from 2019 to now. But a citizen mentioned, and I did have a chance to meet with this particular citizen and somebody else about concerns within our community, and we are seeing an uptick that's incredibly concerning to not only me but my team regarding violent assaults to members of our community. Today we had a back-to-back incident where we had a barricaded subject who was wanted for attempt assault one on a partner who barricaded himself underneath a house just across the street on A Street. That took significant resources, and our SWAT team had to deploy, and we took that fella into custody without incident. A win as far as nobody being hurt, but there are victims behind the scenes. At around the same time, there was another domestic where a mom was violently assaulted. You can read the news for the rest of it. It's out there. And we had to deal with that. So essentially, that's the entire team of Grants Pass managing this. And then there's drug abuse, assaults, trespass, other incidents happening throughout town, throughout our perimeter, and within these campsites. I did mention concern for putting another campsite beside the current campsite. And I think that's probably what you're looking for. I don't have specific detail and numbers right now. We did lose a crime analyst to budget cuts, so we have a part-time crime analyst that's doing her best to get up to speed to bring me the numbers and the information I need, because we're a data-led organization. But it's not pretty out there, and it's very difficult on our team, the men and women of the Grants Pass PD.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? All right, I'll bring it back to council in regards to, if you don't want a further discussion, anybody want to offer an action? Victoria?
No one wants to offer the action. In order to save our city and to move forward, in manner of doing that, I move to adopt the resolution identifying authorized resting sites in accordance with Ordinance 25-5929.
Thank you, Victoria. We have a motion on the table to adopt the resolution as stated. Is there a second? Kathleen? Any further discussion? Okay, you have a motion on the table to adopt the resolution identifying authorizing resting sites in accordance to ordinance number 25-5929. You have a second as well. Last call for discussion. Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Kathleen?
I just did want to add something, is that the city is in the middle. The city is between the state and the homeless that think they are eligible to come here because we are a sanctuary state. That makes us automatically a sanctuary city. And this causes us to not be able to remove people that are illegal or dangerous or any of the above. And it's a very, very difficult situation. And we are working behind the scenes to resolve this, and this is part of what we have to do to get out from under the injunction. So I vote yes.
Thank you, Kathleen. Eric?
I wanted to add one thing too. We have to also comply with the ADA compliance because of this law. So that was also what we had to take into consideration with the parking lots to make it ADA compliant. Somehow 5 people turn into the entire population, homeless population. Not sure. But I will vote yes, reluctantly.
Thank you. Seth?
Yeah, please know that we're doing everything we can, and we just want to fix this and get over with it, but yes.
Rick?
No.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
No.
Victoria?
Yes.
5 yes, 2 no. Resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on the agenda, we will go to the next resolution. Thank you for your participation. Next resolution is resolution adopting the city's strategic plan for 25 through 27 and amending the council's mission, vision, and values statement. I'm going to hand it over to Aaron for a quick presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, council, members of the public. It's my pleasure to introduce the topic of strategic plan for 25-27. This is an opportunity for council to adopt its recently finished annual strategic plan and newly developed mission, vision, and values. This was a combined effort between the community through survey, through council, and through staff, pulling together the information to define where we want to head in the future. It really is a true closed-loop circle process where council reviews through community input and through strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, taking a look at our community. You ultimately develop a strategic plan, which you have in front of you today. You adopt that plan. That plan moves forward as a guiding document for the budget. Budget committee ultimately appropriates resources. Staff implements a work plan. We monitor and report our successes, and we do it again. Again, this is a 2-year strategic plan this year. Just to review the vision, mission, and values that are in the plan. The vision statement, a city of opportunity, innovation. Grants Pass will be a city of opportunity and innovation, promoting economic growth while conserving the natural beauty for future generations. Both the vision and the mission are different from last year, and we did do some wordsmithing to create the documents that you see in front of you. The mission, a city of empowered residents and strong partnerships. Grants Pass will promote a healthy and safe community, driving innovation and long-term success through collaboration with residents, businesses, and regional partners. You also have a set of value statements which are in front of you, and these are values that you try to take as your core principle and ideals that inform everything that we do today. They set the standards of behavior, serving as a touchstone against any decisions or actions that you assess, and those are below. We went on and further identified and defined accountability, communication, credibility, integrity, respect, responsibility, and truthfulness. Your strategic goals are public safety, fiscal stability, economic growth, housing and homelessness, and infrastructure. Of those, you have specific outcomes on each one of those goals. For public safety, Grants Pass has safe, vibrant, and healthy neighborhoods and communities. Under fiscal stability, your outcome is to ensure the financial health and long-term stability of the city. Under economic growth, you have 2 outcomes. Grants Pass encourages economic vitality, growth, and diversification. Outcome 2, Grants Pass's downtown is a vibrant neighborhood and attractive destination. Under Housing and Homelessness, Outcome 1, the City of Grants Pass demonstrates leadership and builds partnerships to increase quality, affordable, and supportive housing options. Outcome 2, Grants Pass is an active partner in developing a robust community system of health, homelessness, and housing stability services, which creates a continuum of care to support individuals and families at risk of or experiencing homelessness. And then infrastructure, you have 2 outcomes. Grants Pass will maintain and expand resilient infrastructure systems, transportation, utilities, and public facilities that support safe growth for future generations. And Outcome 2, Grants Pass will provide high-quality, accessible parks and attractive public spaces that enhance community well-being, encourage economic vitality, and reflect the city's unique character. Cost implications associated with the strategic plan were reviewed and established through the budget process. The call to action is to adopt the strategic plan, the mission, vision, and values, modify per council's adoption, or take no action. And today is the call to date for the strategic plan adoption. And I have a potential motion for you.
Thank you, Aaron. Council, have any questions for Aaron in his presentation? Victoria?
I did have one question when I was reading through the packet, that when we went through it all together, the changes that we made it in there. I saw that. Were there other additions that went in from public comment? There were just a few that I didn't remember or recognize, but that, you know, it could just be that is so, but that was my question. If anything else other than from our session went in?
No, it's directly from your session and the wordsmithing that we did and the input from council.
Thank you. Any further questions? Indra? Okay, any further questions for Aaron in regards to the presentation on the strategic plan? None? You okay over there, Rick? All right.
Thank
I
you,
don't
Mayor.
see any other questions. Thank you very much, Aaron. At this point, I will open it up to any public comment in regards to the presentation at hand and the resolution that we are going to be considering at council. Please step up to the microphone and state your name, and please keep your subject matter to the topic at hand. Thank you.
I shall. Ward Warren. I am the chairman of the city's Historical Building and Sites Commission, and I would just like to say that I have been for a total of about 20 years as a volunteer. And I would just like to say I was very disappointed this year that in past years, the strategic planning session was 2.5 days. And this year it was cut down to about 4 hours. And to me, it seems inconceivable that you could put together a plan for the city in 4 hours, including your lunch. And, you know, it excluded the chairs of all of the committees and commissions. They're all volunteers that meet every month and develop a list of goals in the last 2 months of each year to come to the strategic planning session and present that to the council and communicate what our vision is and what we want to do good for the community. And I know this homeless thing is a monster, but you know, we still need to look at other things in this community to maintain a quality of life here. It's important. I think it's important. And so I hope that this was a one-off and that it wasn't because you didn't have time and you couldn't hire a consultant. Very disappointing. I know you got a sheet that had our goals. I don't think that's enough. And I, as a volunteer, I was offended by it, and I hope you will not do this again in the future. I hope you will listen to your city volunteers. They put a lot of time in, just like you all do. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment in regards to the topic at hand? Come on up. Again, state your name for protocol, and you have 2 minutes.
Mike Servant, city resident. I cannot see how you guys in good faith could vote to accept this city council mission when the vote you just took violated almost every principle of it. Downtown vitality, economic vitality, you know, beautiful downtown, public safety, all of that's in there, and you just took a vote that just craps on all of it. Thank you.
Any further public comment in regards to this topic? All right, seeing none, I will bring it back to council for discussion. Seth, and then Kathleen.
This is another tough one. Thanks for the comment, Ward. Thanks for your comment. You know, I will say I hear what everyone says. I donate a lot of my time. This is volunteer, and that's great. That's what I signed up for. I run Main Street. That's volunteer. I signed up for that. And it's all to improve Grants Pass. And unfortunately, being up here, I have to make tough decisions like we just had to make before this. So I just want to let that be known that all of these things that, you know, are our goals, I stand by, and I want to do those things. And, you know, the tough decisions that we make are always going to probably outweigh in the public opinion than, you know, the stuff we get to do good in the community that has a direct impact. I'm just passionate about it. You know, I signed up for this. I wasn't elected. And I knew what I was getting into. So I just want everyone to know that I think all of us up here are passionate about helping Grants Pass.
Any further comments? I had Kathleen first and then Indra.
So I just want to say that a lot of these goals are, they're what they are, they're goals. We're not going to solve them in 1 day or 2 weeks or 2 months. But I was under the impression that we were embedding the committee's plans and strategies into them. And I think it does overlap in some respects. So if we've neglected to do that, maybe we need to revisit that. But yeah, I think some of them are the same that are already on there. They're not detailed to the nth degree, but I think it incorporates a lot of what we all want for our city.
Thank you. Indra, and then anyone else? And then Eric?
Yes, Mr. Serta. I understand your anger. I'm angry too, and we do make tough decisions. I would like to point out on this under public safety number 1.4 that we did talk about consideration for creating a municipal court. So we are going to be looking at that to have a municipal court so we can hold people accountable who are having bad behaviors. So I think that's a key piece of this whole homeless situation is making people accountable. So we are looking at that going forward. Mr. Warren, I agree. I think we should honor the committee's work and have the chair speak. And it was short. We have a lot on our plate. But perhaps we can do another 4-day little strategic plan and have the committee chairs come in and speak to us. So I don't know when we might have time for that, but I would be for doing something like that. I guess, and finally, I would like to say that we do appreciate the public input on this issue and on our strategic plan. And I understand that the goals on here do not seem to mesh with what's happening now, but as Councilor Crone said, they are goals that we want to get to. And then with that said, we are looking at putting together a town hall where there will be more engagement and not just you talk for 2 minutes and we talk, but a more engagement because as someone said earlier, the community does need to come together to solve this as a community. We need the help too. It's not, we don't want to be on our own making these decisions. We want your help too. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do want to clarify, I believe the council has will be moving in a direction to entertain establishing a municipal court because we do have a lot of bad actors in our community that do smaller crimes, and the municipal court takes care of a lot of that action and accountability for all of the bad actors in our community. Victoria? Oh, sorry, it was Eric first and then Victoria.
A lot of what I was going to say, Indra already said, but I am for revisiting this if what Mr. Warren was saying as far as community input and that they didn't get a chance to to provide their input as much as they've wanted to. So I'm for more community input and getting that pushed forward if that's a possibility. Thank you.
Victoria.
Like Kathleen, was under the impression that when we were going through strategic planning in our session, that embedded in that were the suggestions from committee, and maybe Aaron could speak to that. And I remember, some counselors might remember that when this was months ago, but when it came up, a consultant for strategic planning, the number that sticks in my mind was $26,000 for the consultant. And one of our goals when we were elected was fiscal, responsibility for the city. And I remember that being one of the things that we first voted on, saying we could save $26,000 for the city. And that's might, with our whole budget, seem like just a little bit of money. But at the time, it seemed to me like, and I remember discussing with Aaron, can we do this ourselves? And I think the response was yes, we can. It's been done in the past, and so that's why we did it that way. So maybe Aaron could speak to how we incorporated the committee's input into the strategic planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Any further discussion? Seth?
Yeah, I just want to say, as in when I create a strategic plan in my own business or for my clients, in my personal opinion, this document, it's a living, breathing document, right? So I don't look at it as it's set in stone, and I don't think anyone should. I think it should be able to fluctuate as time progresses, because you're never going to know what a year from now is going to look like.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yeah, there has been discussion and questions about how the strategic planning played out this year. There was abundant community outreach. There was polls, and there was a lot of behind-the-scenes work before we actually had the session. The session was abbreviated and quick for the efficiency of time, but 99% of the work was actually done beforehand and ahead of time. So hopefully that clarifies some of that up. Is there any further discussion, or I look to council for a call for action? Victoria.
I move to adopt the mission, vision, and values, the city's strategic plan. Oh, I'm not, maybe I didn't read that correctly. The city's strategic plan representing mayor's and council's priorities. Was that the motion?
That's good. That works. That works. We have a motion on the table to adopt the strategic plan along with the mission and vision and values of the statements. And we have a second by Rick. Any further discussion from council? Seeing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes, because it's a living document.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes. Resolution. Continuing on through the agenda, we have a motion to readopt, sorry, I had just a tiny bit of a brain fart there. Motion to readopt the city's investment policy. And we're going to have a staff report or question from JC. I'll hand it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council and the public. We're here tonight because the ORS statute has an investment policy embedded in it. If you're going to deviate from that investment policy, you have to have an annual adoption of your own policy, which this is what this is doing tonight. So I'm going to go over a little bit about the investment policy, and then the relationship to council goals is one of your new goals of fiscal stability. So a little bit of the background. We started a contract with an investment advisor in October of 2022 with Government Portfolio Advisors. As part of that contract, GPA collaborates with the city for edits to the city's investment policy. This round of edits are mostly cosmetic in the nature to align more closely with the market and fluctuating balances. They compare that to the standard Oregon State Treasury investment policy as well. These edits won't change our current practice, more or less. GPA supplied a memo, which is Exhibit 2 in your packet, outlining the changes. I do have an underline here and a caveat. This could be a potential two-part presentation, as the previous council did put forward a motion that is not necessarily included in the policy, but it is something we practice. That gave us direction to have at least $3 million in local banks in the form of certificate of deposits, as well as there is an opportunity that you can edit the corporate list that the city invests its money in. And I'll go over that if you guys want more information as we move along this presentation. So just as a visual here, you can kind of tell when GPA took over our investment policy. And that's right about here. And you can see last year we made about $5.4 million, and we're on track to be pretty close to that this year. The cost implication, there isn't a cost implication as the GPA is under a 5-year contract. We got about 2.5 more years under that contract at the bargain price of $35,000 a year. So the call to action is today. You have some alternatives in there. You can approve the investment policy as we've edited it, reject the investment policy, make alternate edits. There is a potential motion, and then I do have additional slides in your packet if you'd like me to go over some of your options that you have for considerations regarding the $3 million in local bank CDs and potentially corporate edits. And with that, I'll kind of turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, JC. Any questions from Council? Indra.
Yeah, I just have a question on 284, the corporate approved list of Oregon. Do we invest in this, all of this list or some of them, or do we invest with BlackRock specifically?
Currently, no, we do not. So that at that point was the approved list that is approved through the state board that we can invest in. We have a smattering of corporates throughout there that specifically isn't in there. We try and diversify our portfolio as much as possible and take on opportunities that are at the behests of the council and their policies. So again, going forward, if you want to remove certain investment types, we can have that conversation.
Any further questions from Council? Seeing none, thank you very much, JC.
Yeah, I just wanted to have one question.
Sure,
Are
go
you
ahead.
guys still wanting me to pertain to the $3 million in local banks? I just need a thumbs up if you're not going to change or deviate from that. Okay.
Looks like you got majority.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll open up to public. Anybody in the audience want to weigh in on the topic at hand? Come on up to the podium. If not, thank you. Moving on to, we actually would. Yep. So I'll bring that back to council in regards to discussion and or an action. Indra?
I will move to adopt re-adopt the investment policy attached as Exhibit A.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to re-adopt. Is there a second from Seth? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
All right, unanimously passes to re-adopt. Thank you. Moving on to the next resolution on the agenda, a resolution approving a fee waiver at Riverside Park for the 2025 Frog O Fair event. And I will hand the podium over to Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Froggo Fair event, it was longstanding. I think I read news to me over about 50 years in this community. So it was outside of Riverside Park for a couple of years, but it was back last year. So this subject tonight is coming from those organizers of the event. The 2022, it was temporarily moved, as I mentioned, to Grants Pass High School, but then it returned last year. This year, it's scheduled for Saturday, June 7th. So the commercial activity permit that is necessary for them to hold the event, that is at a staff city manager level. That's been approved, but Legacy Family and Friends, who is operating the event, is requesting that the fees to have the event that we charge be waived, and that can only come from the City Council. So we did adopt a fee schedule. These are intended to, we say this every time, to help recover various costs. That's the reason that we have these fees in place. Those are listed there. There's a banner fee. There are Riverside Park fees, large group application fee, portable stage for $425.75. And the request to you tonight is to waive the full amount of that, $425.75. What is the event? Here's just a couple of things that were in the application. You may already be familiar with it, but it is a free children's festival, a very family-oriented event. There is live music. They are estimating about 2,000 folks, including vendors and food and retail merchandise at the event. Cost implication to the city would be the waiving of the fee amount, and the call to action date is tonight. You can approve the fee in part or complete. You could deny the request, and there is a potential motion there for you.
Thank you, Bradley. Any questions from council? Rick, go right ahead.
Thank you, Brad. Prior to COVID, did we charge a fee for this event? And do you know what the fees schedules would have been back then?
Yes, we would have had event fees. Yes, we've had our comprehensive fee schedule has had fees to utilize the parks for these kinds of things. They would have been, a little bit less. Our CPU has kind of, ratcheted those up each January. So, pre-COVID, so you're talking about maybe 5 years or so ago, it would have been somewhat less, but not significantly. We did do a little bit of looking. There hasn't been a request since they've been back here at the park for a fee waiver, but there might have been prior to that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
At this moment in time, we'll open to public comment. If anybody wants to come up to the podium and weigh in on this, please say your name and keep your comments to the topic at hand. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Teresa Matz, and I'm the Director of Legacy Family and Leadership. So we took over Froggo Fair last year in May. We did not request a fee waiver last year because we took over the event so close to it happening. We didn't have the opportunity to get it in front of the council, but we were able to work with the Parks Department to be able to move it back to Riverside Park, where it has been since 1972. There were a few events missed during COVID, and so this year will actually be the 50th event. And if you do choose to waive the fees, that will go to help us cover other infrastructure costs like extra restrooms, extra garbage dumpsters, that kind of thing, and then anything else will go to putting on more activities for the kids that are involved. And I believe last year we had at least 2,000 people there, and we do hope to have a better event this year. People were really excited to see it back in the park last year, and we're great to have it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment in regards to this topic? Seeing none, thank you. I'll bring it back to council for further discussion and/or action. Kathleen.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the resolution to grant the waiver of the park reservation fees at Riverside Park for the 2025 Froggo Fair event.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. It looks like we have a second from Eric. And any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a vote. You have a motion on the table to waive the fees for the event. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
All right, passes. Thank you. That takes care of all of our council actions at this moment in time. Next on the agenda, we have an appointment. Looks like we have an appointment to Solid Waste Agency, a staff member to the Solid Waste Agency. There is a form in front of you guys. I want to say it's called salmon or orange or whatever. Please make your choice, sign it, and send it down, please. Yes.
I'd like to just make a motion that we appoint Eric Wade to the, as a staff member to the Solid Waste Agency.
Sure, but they printed the papers. Okay. Just so the public knows, we do only have one member that is up for this, and that is for Eric Wade. We do have a motion on the table at this moment in time for to make this appointment, and we have a second from Victoria.
No, it was from.
Or Rick. Do you want Rick to have the second? Okay, Rick can have the second this time. All right, so we have a motion and a second. I apologize if I'm confusing you guys. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a vote. Victoria?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, it has been adopted that we will appoint a single person to the Solid Waste Agency. Thank you. And thank you, Indra, for speeding that up. Okay, moving on. We are now at the public comment, general public comment section of our meeting. This is an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on items not related to a public hearing or council action item for the council. The intent is to provide information that is pertinent to the city's jurisdiction. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the council as one body, not individuals. This meeting will proceed in an effective and courteous manner. Citizens and council members will be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free from slander, threats, and other personal attacks. Signs, placards, outbursts of applause, campaigning for public office, or other disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. If you have any questions regarding any government-provided service or a current city policy, please contact the city manager's office in an attempt to resolve the matter. We do have a number of cards here. Thank you very much for being due diligent and filling out your blue cards in a timely manner. I do think a few people have left, so I'm going to go through the list here. Council has agreed to give everybody that speaks 2 minutes time. And the first one here is Tanya McCombs? Tanya?
I'm going to pass.
Okay, thank you very much. The next one I have here is Philip King. Philip King. Okay, thank you very much. I got Robert Muir. Robert. Okay, thank you very much. Dell Aldridge. All right, you know the procedure. Step up to the mic, restate your name, and you have 2 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Dell Aldridge, city resident. You made a decision today that nobody else in the world, I can't even imagine the weight on your shoulders. You guys, you got an elephant on your back. Those 2 judges that made it very clear if you didn't follow their rule to the letter, they'd be in the parks for another 2 years. And as a park board member, we want them out of the park. Wherever you put it, they're not going to be a good thing. But I do want you to know that right after you did your workshop, the Greyhound bus had 15 people leaving, all with backpacks from the camps, yesterday and today. They're leaving because they know it's coming. We're going to bring it down to it, and then we'll get a good camp going right back in the corner here. Jared, thank you. We're going to get something going here. Bottom line is, I'm glad you're in your shoes and I'm not in yours. Frog Affair, we'll be there for their security. We were there last year. We're going to be there for them this year again. And Park Watch has cleaned the parks December 15th. We had every park clean. Then they were allowed back in the parks. And then the judge said, get out. You closed J Street. We went through and cleaned all the major parks. Again, collecting numerous needles and everything else. And we're going to be there again to get those parks ready. Because those kids that played baseball today and Monday, they had a clean park to be at. I hope you'll put your efforts in Morrison first, because that is a kids' park, not a homeless camp. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Fawn Dapper? You're going to pass. Thank you very much. David Dapper, step up to the microphone, restate your name, and you have 2 minutes, sir.
Hi, David Dapper, city resident. I would just like to caution about giving money to these junkies and sex offenders. We have a wonderful bathroom by the pedestrian bridge at Tussing. It's been closed for over 5 years because they'll shoot up in it and ruin it, so we can't have it. So you gave them a porta potty. Mike took a picture down along the river at Tussing of 2 buckets. They're crapping in and throwing it in the river, even though they have a porta potty. They're animals. So don't give money for anything to them except for buying something for us, the citizens. We don't want to invite 600 of these drug addicts and sex offenders to some lot in a neighborhood and give them millions of dollars. Let the state of Oregon cover it. There is a lot I asked about a long time ago at 199 and 5, that southwestern corner, that's owned by the state. And ODOT didn't want to give it up a couple years ago when I asked, because they want to use it for a staging site, which they never have. So let the state of Oregon put out. I know firsthand what these people are talking about. And this is a first step to get them all, under control a little bit, hopefully. But let's maybe see if the state of Oregon will give up that lot that they've never used. Also the one by the police station. If we can, we do need to get these things out of neighborhoods where human beings try to live. And one thing to bring the level of them down, quit handing out Narcan. There'll be a lot less homeless.
Thank you for your comments. Next up I have Lionheart. Did you still want to speak, sir? Come on up, sir. You got 2 minutes. Restate your name and go for it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You got no bounds this time.
No bounds. I've heard today people experiencing homelessness referred to as animals. I've heard an advocacy for withholding life-saving medication from them. I would implore you to remember that every person experiencing homelessness has a unique and individual story, and we can't all be lumped into one group. And if you really want to help people, oftentimes that comes with a depthful understanding of what they're going through. And I would hope that you would be willing to employ interviews, surveys, and focus groups for those who are actually living the experience of homelessness here in your city and in your camps and in your parks. I've been trying to do that, and it's been my experience, and I think the research and the literature also reflects that if you give a person a hand up and create a circumstance where they can help themselves and hold them accountable, I think that you will see much greater success. It seems counterproductive to me, and I think the research bears it out as well, to make lived experience living in places here in your city so much harsher than it needs to be. The harsher it is, the more people are driven to self-medicate, and so the cycle perpetuates itself. People, to get out of homelessness, need recuperative sleep. You just can't function without sleep. So when decibel levels are over 90 and temperatures are over 120, 130 intense, it's really tough for those experiencing homelessness. I would extend an invitation for any of you that would like an immersive experience. I'm happy to take you out for a number of days, as I have done for a U.S. congressman and other mayors around the United States.
Thank you.
I'll be in the back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. I do want to remind the audience, you do want respect when you're up at that podium. Please do respect the people who are up at that podium. They do have a right to speak, and it is a little disheartening if you don't give them that respect. So we are all adults here, so let's give each other respect. With that being said, next on the list here we got Grant Jenster. I might have done the last name wrong. Grant? All right. Thank you. Oh, Yonser, he's, okay, apologize, Grant, if you're still watching. I totally butchered your name. Ward Warren, do you still want to speak, buddy?
I'm still here.
All right, come on up, restate your name, and go right ahead. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah, just by way of introduction, this was supposed to be a local proclamation, which is read every year by the mayor. This is for National Historic Preservation Month, and just so everybody understands why I'm reading it instead of the mayor, is that I sent it to the mayor 3 weeks ago, and didn't hear from him. When I did call him and talk to him, he informed me that there was some rule that the city needs 4 weeks, and I only got it in 3 weeks ahead of tonight's meeting. Sorry about that. So anyway, I'm here to read it. And just so there's no problem, I'm going to call it a declaration, if you're okay with that. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to read it now. Whereas local historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability, and whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds, and whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people. Now, therefore, I, Ward Warren, Chairman of the City Historical Building and Sites Commission, hereby proclaim May 2025 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Grants Pass and Josephine County to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. So just so everybody is familiar with what those might be, Riverside Park, a few years ago, we pushed an effort, and Riverside Park is now a National Historic Landmark Park designated by the National Park Service. Also, if I could have 5 more seconds.
Ward,
also
I can't give you more seconds because then I got to give everybody. I appreciate that.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Grants Pass, Historic Downtown, Riverside Park, and our residential historic district on Long Ridge in Washington. All places that I hope you get out and enjoy.
I got to pass it on, Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Randy Holdbrook. Come on up, Randy. Restate your name, and you have 2 minutes, sir.
Hi, I'm Randy Holbrook, and I want to thank you for hearing me. I just had a couple questions. I went to your main office and they sent me here, so I hope I can get it here. We heard that there's consideration for homeless up on Vine Street. Is that true? Am I able to ask that?
We're in public comment, so you can ask your questions, but we won't respond at this moment in time.
Oh, okay. Can I even ask if there's resources where I can follow this subject?
What I would suggest is you reach out to the town manager or the city office, and they can give you some more information.
Okay, thank you. Basically, if it ever does come before you folks, first of all, I feel for you folks. I'm blessed and I live out in the forest, the outskirts of the city, and my heart bleeds for you people with what you're dealing with right now. It's tough. I'm also a retired sheriff from LA County, and I've had experience with these problems, so I get it. It's tough. My interest is really narrow about the school up there, the Adventist school, because if you look at a plot map, we're cat-a-corner less than the 500 feet, and I know that that's the norm for a homeless encampment and a school. We're about 300 feet. And my experience as a sheriff, you know, I know that there's 3 levels. There's those that are there by circumstance and they can't help it. You know, they're looking to get out. There's others that are honest and enjoy it. But then there's a few that have just lost their way, and those are the ones we're concerned about. They'll cut holes in fences, create shortcuts, and we've been having a little trouble with people cutting our fences and breaking into some of our things, and we don't want the needles and whatnot at our school, so we'd appreciate whatever you can do to help us there. Thank you, and I'll pray for all of you folks.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Next up, we have Olivia.
Thank you, guys. For 55 years, the March for Life has occurred in this city. And a few years ago, they were made to not walk in the street. So for a couple of years now, the last couple, because I think there was some COVID stuff in there that may have caused the first street to be put on the sidewalk. So getting back to it, there's a over 50-year history, and this year what we did, because we couldn't get straight answers from the city, and what we did find out in our investigations were some evident things, like some of the former council members and leadership were advocates for abortion, and so anyways we moved forward, and we just tried to try the process as it's always been, fill out the DOT permit and everything else. And we've run into the stumbling blocks that I'm officially asking the city to help me get involved with, because I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but it looks like that the city role, we do have photographs and videos of how this event has been a 50-year successful event and peaceful, and it started by a lady named Myrna Shaneyfelt, used to come up to address the city council, and there's several documents out there that will show how we've successfully done this. I would like to compare it to what's actually happening now, and identify who it's been and who it is at the city who is not doing what has happened, for that 50-year span. I need some help with that. We've already got some documentation for you to show that it's something kind of fishy. Thank you for your help.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, I got Winnie. Is Winnie still here? Nope. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, then, Mike, would you like to come up now, then? Mike is here. Come on up to the microphone, restate your name, and you have 2 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Mike Pelfrey, city resident. This is an interesting document that I've got. It's just a copy of a page. It says, "The Road to Home, Josephine County's 10-year plan to end homelessness." It was dated 2010 to 2011. It was put out by UCAN and some of these others. I would just like to ask them, how'd that go? How'd that work out? I don't think it did. So what I would highly recommend that our city does is that, I just got back from a 17-state RV trip. And I did not see anything remotely like what I experienced when I got back home. I've never been on a trip in my life where I've always couldn't wait to get home to my bed. But I was dreading pulling into Grants Pass. I was actually dreading pulling into Oregon. This is the most dysfunctional city and state that I've ever been associated with. So one of the things I would ask that you please do, because when I left, and I do research when I'm on this trip, and I happened to spend the 2 days before I got back to Oregon, I was in Walla Walla, Washington. I sent you all some information. I think if you looked at that information, you'll see that it's very impressive. That city was clean. It's only 8,000 shy of our population, so it's a small city. You cannot compare Grants Pass to Houston or to Portland. But here in Grants Pass, the problem that we're experiencing is almost like it's in Zoom. When I got off the interstate and went to my house, every left, right, and straight turn I turned, I ran into a homeless person. That is not acceptable. So I ask that you please reach out to the city of Walla Walla, the city manager, and ask them how it is that they're able to tackle this issue. And maybe you can pick up a few pointers. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Cynthia? All right. How about Kate Hutchert? Come on up, restate your name, and you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Kate Huckert. I live across the street from the homeless camp expansion. I'm not happy about it. $10,000 is roughly what it's going to cost me, and I'm a self-employed single mother. I'm having to do a GoFundMe account to try to recoup some of the expense because it has to be done because it's now an emergency. You have done nothing to provide for our safety or our security. And I'm asking you, I'm imploring you to do something because the police department, they're trying and they've spoken with us and they've been very kind and helpful. Really appreciate that, but they cannot provide additional services. So you did this, you have to do something to protect us, okay? Something, please. I'd like security patrols or some kind of security, something. I'd like some financial reimbursement for my expenses. You could refund my property taxes that you just raised by $800 a year because I fixed up my place, and then you raised my taxes, and then you plopped in 3 different series of homeless encampments. I really feel like I have been crapped on by the city multiple times. I'd like some temporary signs to protect 2 parking spaces in front of my house so I can try to stay in business because my clients come to this neighborhood. They have to drive by this shit show you've created. I'd like some parking spaces. The city is clogging the street. They have to have a place to park as well. I know you've tried to secure the church. A lot of people don't want to park there. I'd like some signs in front of my house. And if one of you makes a motion, you actually could do that. The city manager has told us that. It's the least you could do. Actually, the least you could do is rise above these small town perspectives and actually do something that helps these people and does a reasonable solution that involves all of these organizations in town who know what they're doing. Let them do that. Find a different site. Let them do what they do best and support them. That's the way that this is going to get closer to being solved. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Michael.
Mike Servant, I live with her. I understand you guys had to make a really hard decision, and I know nobody wants to be in this position. We really take offense, though, with the process, with the way this was done. Again, no notification ahead of time, and absolutely zero communication since we started. I sat here at the last meeting, and several of you expressed sympathy for us. Great. Others of you said that the city would absolutely, the staff would absolutely reach out to see what they could do to alleviate some of the burden on us. We heard nothing. I can't even get emails answered. I had to make appointments. I had to make an appointment with the city manager. I had to make an appointment with the attorney. I had to make an appointment with the police chief. I had to make an appointment with the mayor. No one here even responded to my emails, okay? So much for the civic empowerment, the citizen empowerment part of your mission. I know you had to rush to get out from under this injunction, and I know that's important to try to get them out of the parks. The thing is, people can't go to a park, and that's very upsetting. We can't walk outside of our front door right now. That's very, very upsetting, okay? At least parks are somewhat optional. We can't even walk on our own street in our own yard. And what I'm concerned about is in the rush to get out of this injunction, this was the solution. This would not have to be the solution, okay? This could have been dispersed across the city. This could have been done in a different way. I know there was a big rush to get into this. We don't even know if the injunction is going to be lifted. So I understand there's an urgency, but it got delayed by 2 weeks anyway while the city employee union had an issue and then with the tearing out of the landscaping. So there was 2 weeks. We could have paved something else. We could have done something else. This is not inevitable. And what I'm concerned about is this decision was made knowing what happened on J Street, and you recreated it here, knowing the police chief wasn't for this, knowing the police cannot supervise this. And I don't know if you know, but you should know, but no one's watching the cameras they have up there anyway. They're just going to dispatch. No one's looking at them. They're great, useful for evidence after the fact, but that's not going to help someone. You can't unrape or unmurder somebody. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, I have Holly. Not here anymore. Thank you. Jake Johnstone? Jake? All right. Bob, you're up, bud.
Hi, guys. Bob McGuire, lifetime crook or civilian, whatever. I don't know. Well, this is what we've got. We've kind of been kicking around the parks here lately, and I'm wondering why we're allowing the vagrants in the parks that we don't have outhouses at, because I'm finding them crapping, seeing them crapping on the sidewalks and in the parks. And so anyway, why are we allowing them to be camping in parks without toilets? So I don't think they should be able to be there. And so that was one, and the other ones have kind of been brought up. And Chief, after our meeting, I kind of had good vibes with guys with trying to give it in. Well, I'm not real happy with one of your guys, so they don't want to help out the public. And let's just put it this way: they're there for themselves, not for the people, and they want to make their money and go home. And that's what I got out of one of your officers the other day, and I'm very disappointed with your people out there. And Janice, as a person, dispatch.
Thank you, Bob.
Nice. So, anyway.
Thanks for your comments. Last up, we got Jeremy Ford. Come on up, restate your name, and you have 2 minutes, sir.
Jeremy Ford, U-Turn for Christ. Emotions are high. I get it. Mine are too. I've taken a lot of shots across the bow since we've gotten into this. But one thing I do know is that anger's not going to fix this. That we've got to find a way to build bridges, build trust. We got to find a way that even when we don't agree, we got to work together. Even when things don't make sense, we've got to work together. And that's the only way we're going to get through this. Anger's not going to do it. At one point, I was even thinking about throwing in the towel, but I'm not discouraged. This has done to me is it's commissioned me even more to move even farther. And what I would like to do is just I keep hearing this word, that transparency. We've been open to all this from the beginning, to answer questions, everything. I think what it is, it's not transparency. It's people don't like the questions that we're answering. They're not hearing what they want us to tell them, and that's not transparency. That's entitlement on the other people's end. I think we need to figure out a way that all of us can work together, somehow, some way. All of us, all the council members, U-Turn for Christ, the whole organizations that we have put together. One of the things that I got an email today, and this is just where our heart is with a lot of us that come together with Pathways to Disability, is there's going to be a lot of naysaying and stuff like that. We understand that. But one of the things that one of the members said is that we have to make sure that we get this right, because there's a lot at stake. And there is a lot at stake, and we're working really, really hard behind the scenes. I am putting countless hours in, staying up late, drafting documents, making phone calls, having conversations, not because I want any type of praise, but because I'm here to serve, and I'm here to serve this community. And I think if we can get past what we don't agree on and start working together, and we need a solution. We do. We have a plan, and no plan's foolproof, but if we all work it together, we'll get somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, that was the last of the cards, and I appreciate everybody's comments tonight and everybody's sticking to decorum. You guys were great. Thank you very much. At this point, next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda that have been starred for short staff presentations. Those will go to the top of the list, so we'll have item B, which is resolution revising the city's financial policies. And it looks like maybe JC will give us a short stint on that.
Actually, Mayor, I don't have a presentation. There was no request by council as to anything that they wanted me to delve into after our 2 workshops. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Perfect. That is a good enough presentation for me. You are a facilitator of questions. With that, I will bring it back to council. This is a start item, and JC here is available to answer questions. Does anybody from council have a question? Going once, going twice? Okay. Kathleen, did you have a question? Sorry.
I just think that there, I'm not quite understanding what we're revising as far as goals and where we're going to be making those changes. I know there's a lot of information here, but it's still fuzzy to me, and I'm sure many of the other counselors have still some questions. Maybe we could have a, I don't know if it needs a full workshop, but just more of a brief, I guess this is brief for you. It's not brief for me, and it feels like a big topic. It feels like a major decision. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but that's just the way I'm feeling about it, and I don't feel like I could vote on it.
I would be happy to dive into any of the language, the details. Obviously, I would need some poignant question as to what doesn't make sense. Just as a generic reminder for what the workshop presentations presented, we originated this policy back in 2011. In my experience, 14 years is a long time to go through a revision for a policy. So these were brought forward to you with the best intentions to revise it and bring it up to date to current city practices, as well as utilizing language that is not necessarily unique throughout the state, but I use language that other cities are utilizing as well. So again, anything that needs to be brought forward, redefined, rewritten, explained, I'm more than happy to help. I just need to know what that needs to look like and be to help facilitate that conversation.
Okay, so maybe I want to ask this one. What happens when the fund balance goes below, let's see, where is that here? Within a period of 3 fiscal years. Has that ever happened? Has the balance gone below within a 3-year period of time?
So it can. We try and make corrective action to make sure that that is. The new policy calls for a 5-year outlook because certain knee-jerk reactions or 3 years maybe isn't enough time. So I extended that to 5 years to allow for a more even approach. And I think we saw that by calling out in our budget this year that we actually called out more areas to be more transparent as to potential cash and fund balances that other funds that weren't previously called out. So we wanted to highlight those in the new budget, potentially of showing that there needs to actually be policy action for some of these areas that we do have funds in. and maybe take a look at those and make some revisions to how we either operate or what the understanding of those programs need to actually be and what their financial implications are for the community.
Indra looks like she might have a question. Are you okay to pass on for a minute, Kathleen? Okay. Go ahead, Indra.
I think it's important for every counselor to understand this. I would maybe suggest that we table this to the next meeting, and maybe counselors who have questions could come to you specifically to ask them so that we don't spend a lot of time in confusion here tonight.
No, and that's a very good point, and my door is always open. I believe in the last workshop where you wanted me to solicit the budget committee for their input, I included that back to you within a week's time, as well as opened that up for if you have even more comments or concerns before this goes in the packet, please feel free to send those to me. And I didn't get any responses from counselor from that time to making the packet. So I just want to make sure that it's always the point that when you have a published packet that you can always ask those questions before it gets to the business meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna pause this one moment in time. So currently we have 2 counselors that have questions in regards to this. This has been presented to you guys in a workshop. This has been workshopped into the budget committee, and this has been afforded to you a number of times and offered a number of times to have questions and answers. So currently we have 2 counselors that are not ready to vote on this tonight. Is there any other counselor that is not ready to vote on this tonight? I need a reaction from the council first. So I'm taking it as there's only 2 counselors at this moment in time that are not ready to, and I'm not trying to single you out, but we're trying to stick with protocol here. So as far as I'm concerned, if I don't have 3 counselors, then this is going to stay on the consent agenda.
I'm in favor of making sure everybody is afforded the opportunity to go in and understand it.
Okay, so now we have 3 counselors that aren't ready to vote on this tonight. Is that correct, Victoria?
Yes.
Okay, so at this moment in time, I think it would be a futile effort for you guys to discuss this anymore. I think if you could come up with an idea on getting some more information from JC, whether it is in an email form and then you guys have a little back and forth, or is it something that you want to put on a workshop? I'm just trying to be efficient here and not waste our time. So any suggestions on how you want to go forward with this?
I have a suggestion. Why don't we just make a meeting with those 2 or 3 council members that have questions. We'll do it together in a small group and we'll just get it knocked out.
Does that sound amicable to you guys? That way you get a little bit more one-on-one, and I think that, I mean, looks like we're all shaking our heads. Do you have clear direction?
Yep.
Do you have clear direction? Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. So we will table this one off the consent agenda for tonight with further action from staff and the 3 counselors in question. Thank you. Next item that was starred is resolution amending the procedures for conduct of business, section 6, agenda 7, order of business 8, meeting dates, and 10 public comments. And Aaron, are you going to give a presentation or just afford questions?
Mayor, may I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting past 9 o'clock.
Can I make you wait 4 minutes?
Sure.
No. I appreciate the butt in there, Rick, and we do have a motion on the table to extend past 9. We have a second from Victoria. I don't see any further discussion. Everybody just give me a thumbs up, please. Kathleen? Everybody good? Everybody's good. Thank you. Sorry to be so short and brief, but we're going forward.
You know, I can give a brief presentation. Not the presentation would just highlight the changes that are in your packet, or myself and staff are here to answer any questions.
Okay. Rob.
Yeah, I'm the one who asked to have this start. So the section 10, part A, where the way it used to be done was the comment cards would be received up until the public comment section of the meeting, and that's been changed, that the comment cards have to be in at the start of the meeting. And I'm just wondering, how does that serve the public and how does that serve the council? Why was that change being proposed?
So the proposals in front of you today are just house cleaning proposals based on council norms. We're just trying to update the resolution based on what your actions are and what your council norms are for the meetings. You've established a rule that people can provide blue comment cards up until 6 o'clock when the meeting starts, and that's the way we've been operating, although the rules are a little different. So we have just been updating, and there's a few updates, and that's why it's here. I don't have an answer for you on why. That's just your normal protocol.
So what you're saying, normal protocol, so what you're saying, you're codifying what has been this council's action. Prior councils did it differently, and I'm saying that I was not aware that that was a restriction that was placed on the public, that they have to be here necessarily at 6 o'clock and potentially wait, in this case, like 2 or 3 hours to present their public comments. So I'm in opposition to codifying that. I'm in opposition of actually continuing to follow that procedure. I think it's punitive, and I think it discourages people from potentially making public comment. And I don't see how it's any advantage to the public, and I don't see how it's any advantage to the council or the mayor or the staff.
I think that's more of a comment for council. I'm here for questions, so.
Oh, sorry, thanks.
Kathleen?
So also under 10, Section 10, letter E, I've never seen that done before. Council may ask 2 questions of citizens during public comment.
That was something that was implemented, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago. Councilor Pell might recall what year, but I think he was one of the opponents for having that change. But that is in your rules to where you do have the ability to do so.
So if I'm hearing that correctly, after they speak, we can ask them from here questions.
That is what you have in your current rules.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Rob?
Yeah, Kathleen, I have asked, I think 2 people questions in the last few months. It was actually during a council action item when people were speaking, and it was obvious that they knew more about that particular thing than anyone else in the room. So it would have been really foolish of us not to hear what they had to say. But I've done that twice, actually, in the last few months.
So I have a question for that specific topic. Is that questions to the public during public comment within a council action, or public comment, general public comment as well? Because I think the premise of general public comment is completely different from public comment on council actions. That's a question. I guess what was the intention from that, Rob?
Well, once again, there are occasions when we have somebody come to the podium that potentially knows more about a particular subject that the council should know about. They know more about it than anyone else in the room, including staff. And to me, that was why there are those occasions when it would be really foolish to let that person walk away because they are possibly helping us.
Yeah, and this is not an argument, it's actually a clarification.
That's the explanation.
Did you intend it, was it intended to be for both the public comment sessions?
It absolutely was for that reason.
Okay, that was just a clarification. I wasn't trying to argue with you on that.
No, for that reason.
Okay.
Because occasionally, you got an expert there, and I mean a high-level expert.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me during the council action, but I just wanted to know if the premise was to go through, to carry on through general public comment too, and you clarified that. Yes? Yeah, go right ahead, Stephanie. Thank you.
I would note that Section 10, the public comment, does specifically state in regards to your question that it's the public comment is the opportunity for the public to address the council on items not related to a public hearing or council action item. So it wouldn't apply to those points. It would only be the general public comment.
So the questions to the public during the public comment only applies to general public comment section?
The way this is written, yes.
So it wouldn't actually apply to the public comment section during a council action?
That's the way I would read that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Any further questions? All right, since we are into discussion, I
had a question.
Oh, go ahead, Eric, sorry.
So is that needing to be modified then from what was just pointed out.
If that's something that council wants to modify, you would want to do so in a resolution and note that, if you wanted to broaden that or not, or make any kind of changes.
Okay, any further questions? If not, we'll go into small discussion. Rob, we're going into discussion now, so go ahead, Rob, and then Victoria.
Well, again, once again, people heard my discussion already. I don't see any advantage to disallowing people to hand in a card after 6 o'clock. For people that have ever waited hours to speak at the podium, and years ago I did many times, but people who have done that know that it's a lot to ask for members of the public that are basically, in some cases, trying to help council with giving more input or trying to do something that they feel is important. So to me, I don't think they should be penalized by having to get here prior to 6 o'clock. They should have the cards in before public comment starts, and that to me is very reasonable.
Thank you for your comments, Rob. I actually have a little bit different take on that. I believe, we've gone to League of Oregon Cities. It was my first conference, so yeah, it's on top of my mind. But you're afforded an opportunity to talk to mayors and council people from all over the state that attend. And I'm also involved in a Mayor's Oregon, Association. Oregon Mayor's Association. There's an email chain that will not stop. There is a number of cities that don't even allow public comment during their business meetings because their business meetings are set forth to do business. Yes, they have public comment during the business actions, but they don't have general public comment sessions available in those business meetings because they're there to do business. So we're not in the norm, I guess, because I guess we're kind of in the norm. It's not precedent that you have general public comment across the state of Oregon. So I believe it's more efficient and it is more of a clerical duty to get those cards in before the meeting starts, because then we know how the meeting is going to proceed. It's less effort on staff because then their attention can be dedicated to the meeting instead of in the middle picking up cards through. And you could be disruptive because people are walking up and handing cards in. So I can see your point of it, but I would argue that it's more efficient to do it and have everybody turn them in before the meeting starts, because then we know how the meeting's going to proceed. But that's just my weighing in on it. I had Victoria and then Indra.
It's been tradition for the public to be able to hand in the cards up to public comment, and so I'm not necessarily against going back to that, but we also do afford people to speak on the topics that they really want to talk on after each action item, well, before the vote on each action item. So we are allowing the opportunity for that. But I think maybe tradition might, so I don't know if we could say that, I don't know how to modify that because we're weighing efficiency and tradition. So perhaps we could just extend time a little bit into the meeting and maybe meet, in a happy medium. Maybe if it, well, it would depend, it would be different in every meeting, so we couldn't say it could be after, until after any quasi-judicial issues, people could be turning in their public cards, because it is sometimes hard for people to get here at 6 at the beginning when they really want to speak on something. Again, though, they are able to speak on any action item, so they would be able to speak anyway. So I would be okay if we were going to extend those general comments into maybe up until public comment, unless the person has already, if they were able to speak on the topic that came up, then they wouldn't be speaking during public comment So I'm working this out as I'm talking.
You're kind of
here.
making my point.
Yeah.
You're
So-
confusing the whole thing, and you're basically putting so many parameters on it, it's gonna be
It would
very,
be
very confusing.
So if somebody came in late to the meeting and they
On a
really
Tuesday, when it's sunny?
Yeah, no, only
Sorry, I'm
on
just joking.
Mondays when we move our, so if somebody came in late and they wanted to speak during public comment, they could fill out a comment card unless they speak during the action item. So then they were able to speak. I think it could be maybe written that way, and that wouldn't be confusing. So people would feel like they didn't have their opportunity to speak taken away, and they wouldn't feel like they had to rush here at 6, and then we wouldn't be taking the tradition. Because tradition for public comment here, I think, is important. So I don't know. That might need a little bit of work there, but in order to help with tradition and efficiency, I think we could move towards something like that.
Okay, so the item was starred and is pulled off the consent agenda for this specific reason, because not everybody's comfortable with voting it on the consent agenda and going forward with it. And I'll get to you guys in 1 second. So what you guys are doing at this moment in time is you need to figure out whether you want to vote on it now as is, you want to vote on it with amendments, or do you want to table it and scrutinize it more and adjust it more? That's your prerogative. Staff had put this on the consent agenda because they were just doing some housekeeping items to bring it back more into what the normal procedure has been going on within the meeting. So with that being said, that's what your objective is now. So if you guys kind of want to stick to that and try to figure out whether you want to approve it now, approve it with amendments, or pull it off completely and rework it. With that, we have Indra and then Rob with more comments.
Thank you. I have other questions besides what we're talking about, because there are some other significant changes. Changing the semi-monthly agenda setting to monthly, under public comment, reviewing emails or an opportunity to review public comment, changing the Monday. If it's a holiday, we usually meet Tuesday. I have a lot of questions, so I would suggest I'm going to move that we table this to a workshop where staff can give us information why they made these changes, and we can discuss it and come up with a nice resolution to present at the next meeting that we don't have to talk about so much. Thank you.
Okay, so Indra made a motion. I'm going to ask for a second and then still afford Rob an opportunity to discuss. Is there a second? Oh, Rob seconded your motion. So any further discussion? Rob, did you want to weigh in before? Okay. Any further discussion? You have a motion on the table to table this resolution for further discussion. There's a second. No further discussion. I will call for a vote. Kathleen?
Yes, I agree to table it and make further amendments.
Okay, Eric?
Yes.
Thank you. Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
Okay, sounds like unanimous. Do you have direction?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, the two start items have been discussed and further done with. They have been taken off the consent agendas, both of them, so A and B have been removed off the consent agenda. We have the consent agenda as shown on the screen. Thank you. Excluding item B and item C, which have been tabled. So item A, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, J, and K, and L. As shown on the screen, I would be back to council for looking for action. Victoria.
I move to adopt the consent agenda as written without the two start items.
All right, there's a motion on the table to adopt the consent agenda with amendments, and a second from Rick, clarifying the amendments. Resolution B and Resolution C have been tabled and taken off the consent agenda for further discussion. Any further discussion from council? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. Kathleen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
Thank you. At this time in the agenda, we have matters for mayor, council, and staff. Bring it back to the council. Any comments or questions or comments? Victoria?
So we recently got an email from Aaron Kubik, and I want to propose that we move forward to look at this in our next workshop. And so I would be looking for just other counselors who would want to look at it's on your, to be clear, it was printed and put on the table for all of us, and it's the Dear Mayor and Councilors, I'm writing to respectfully ask that you consider a shift. So it's that memo, and I would like that to be moved to discuss during our next workshop.
I agree with that.
Yes, me too.
Okay, you have 3 counselors that want to move that to work it into the next workshop. And
We'll have that available for you as a presentation discussion in the next workshop.
thank you. Anything else from council? Rob?
Yeah, I just I'd hope that, I took a little bit of time and responded to Aaron's email today, and I would hope that everyone reads that before the next workshop, but if not, I can start from scratch at the workshop with my thoughts on Aaron's proposal.
Okay, thank you. Indra?
Almost forgot. I would like to schedule for the agenda whenever, as soon as possible, when it's convenient, a business community outreach for kind of asking what our current economic struggles for businesses are.
Okay, Indra is requested to have a community, business outreach is what you said?
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else interested in that?
No.
All right. Indra could probably further describe that for you. She kind of did. I just didn't. I paraphrased it for her. Sorry.
I would like to have some of our representatives from our business community at a workshop to talk with them about their obstacles to starting, expanding, what are their challenges as far as it relates to the city, how we can help them with their economic growth, and speak with them as a city council.
Cool. All right. You got 3.
Can I get clarification? Are you looking, Counselor, at this as being an official workshop or a community forum where we're gathering that information on obstacles with regards to growth, development for our community? Or is this my question is, if it's a workshop, I'm going to have further discussion with the council on who's going to be coming to the workshop to present versus a forum where we open it up to anybody, like the Downtown Merchants Association, Main Street, Chamber of Commerce. They could come in and provide comments on what their obstacles are, what do they see, or is it specific you want certain people at the workshop to have a discussion about something?
Yes, I would, and I or other counselors can work with you on that, but I would like to have specific business owners that come, not just, because we hear a lot from the Main Street Visit, Krantz Pass, or I've been to meetings with that. So I would like to hear from actual business owners that are working and trying to make a living in our community.
Sure, and if that's the case, then I'm definitely going to need some additional direction from council on who, because I don't want to not hit the target.
Seth?
Well, I would recommend we work with Main Street, Grants Pass, and the Chamber, and then they can select you know, I don't know, we can say how many businesses we'd like them to bring to a workshop, and they have a presentation ready for us. That way, you don't have to do it, and then they can kind of sift through their members and figure out who makes the most sense.
Go ahead, Indra.
No offense to Main Street or Visit Grants Pass, but we've heard from them and I'm sure they could choose businesses, but I would like us all on the
I didn't
council.
say Visit Grants Pass, I said Main Street and the Chamber of Commerce, which entails the entire city, if that makes sense.
I'm sorry, and I would hope that we would ask Terry with Chamber and ask you for who you recommend. So, I mean, I would like all of the counselors to be involved in, you know, asking who they are recommending some businesses, not just me or somebody else or another group. Would everyone agree to that? Or?
Yeah, I understand what Seth is getting to too, and I think that the Chamber of Commerce is going to have the pulse on what the businesses are. I think that might be a good research to start with them, is to maybe have an outreach to the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do, the objective of what your learning session would be, and then ask them for recommendations on businesses, because they have a catalog of almost all the businesses in town. I mean,
that's their role.
Yeah, that's basically what, I think that's what
businesses.
you're recommending, is to start that research with them.
They do have a catalog of businesses and they have members, but not every business is active with the chamber and not every business is a member of the chamber. So I think we need to extend beyond just the chamber, certainly get their feedback on that for sure, and get Main Street's feedback.
Yeah, I think Seth's recommendation was trying to help hone this down, because I'm sitting here with Aaron too, and I have no idea on like what you're in. I know you're trying to get the pulse of what the local businesses are, but we do definitely need to work together to figure out what the direction is, because we have to be efficient and not waste everybody's time. I think Seth's was more of a recommendation on that's a way to get a lot of businesses that you could get input from.
Aaron, would you like to address?
Yeah, I feel there's a number of different sectors we'd have to consider, and so we are trying to be as diversified as possible with the information we're receiving. But I think in this situation, if you're trying to get a pulse, trying to get an idea of, hey, what can the city do to help, or those kind of things, we may be more efficient to begin with a community forum, have a partnership with the chamber, Main Street, the city, and say, hey, we want to hear from you. How do you feel the city could better improve? What are obstacles to your growth or your stabilization within the community? Or what's your struggle in the wintertime, or whatever it is? To be a little more broad in the beginning, and then see what you get from a feedback perspective. And you might find some nuggets there. They're like, okay, we need to invite these people or this industry to have a further discussion. But that might be better to do an exploratory forum with some partners within the community before we get to listing specifics to come to a workshop.
Can I say one more thing, Andrew? Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would be for a forum, although I would say that this forum should be second to the other forum that we have been discussing at the topic of hand. So I just want to say that it's important, but I think the other one is more important right now. That's what, yeah, I just want to put that out there.
So would the forum be like the forum that we had with the nonprofits, where they were here?
No, I see it as the city facilitating a general discussion and an invite to any business community member, whether it be a building owner, or it be a business owner, or it be a franchise owner, whatever it is, that could come in and speak about topics of interest to them, challenges that they have within the community, and then we can hear all of that and categorize those and maybe get some good takeaways on where our next steps are.
I'm great with that, yes.
Are you square with that?
I am, as long as councilor's okay with that. It sounds like we're on the same. I will work with a number of the agencies, and we'll work on a form. And yes, it would not trump the other form.
No.
I don't think there's a time sensitivity with this one, so we will work on getting something put together.
I would suggest that you do some due diligence and come up with, maybe present a memo back to council once you've got something solid, and make sure that they're okay with it before you proceed.
Sir, I certainly can do that.
Yeah. Cool. Any further comments or questions? We got Eric and then Rob.
So this is related to our camp problem here, and the lady that came up and spoke, Kate Hucker, I think. Sorry if I mispronounced the name or did not say it right, but she was referring to a $10,000 security patrols refund the property taxes that basically the expenses that she was getting. It's very disheartening that yes, these people have to go through what they're going through. So I guess what I'm getting at here is there any way that we can revisit or visit that those requests to try to get some kind of better security or some kind of tax refund? I mean, I'm just going down the list of everything that I could remember. Signage and basically if this injunction prolongs or keeps on going, I don't know how long, nobody knows how long it's going to be. We need to revisit figuring out what we're going to do with this place. Maybe we need to disperse it like they were talking about, like the citizens were referring to, and maybe we need to try to revisit separate locations when we get a chance. I know I said a lot there. I just want to put that on the table.
Rob.
Yeah, to support some of what Eric just said, I think that we could probably very easily at least clear 2 parking spaces on the street, which is what they requested, which costs us very little to do, and it's I think that we could probably do that for them pretty quickly. Is that possible, Aaron, or what do you?
Yeah, I believe you have the authority to do that. I just think you need to weigh the pros and cons and the policy associated with that. You'd be taking public parking in a residential zone and making it a commercial priority. And there's other things that may come into play when it comes to precedents that you're setting and other requests that are coming in. And so it's a bigger factor between that, and you just would need to weigh all of that. I think that if you were to do something like that, it may be beneficial to have further discussion or ask for a memo or something along those lines to so we have a full idea and you have all the information before a decision is made.
I guess small response to that is when you talk about precedent setting, I fully understand what you're saying, but we've broken so many precedents in setting this whole situation up. I don't have a problem with certainly that very, very small ask, and would be very, very easy for us to do. So I don't know, if the rest of the council agrees with that, I'd certainly like to move forward with that aspect of it as soon as possible.
Kathleen and the Victoria.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that possibly along those lines, Rob, that it was just temporary. I mean, just as long as those are there and then the signs are removed again. I mean, just for the businesses while this very inconvenience is happening for them. Is that possible to just do something temporary?
Well, it's possible. I would need more discussion on what that intent looked like and the impacts of it.
Yeah, I think you'd have to run that through, parking regs and planning and legal as well. because I really have a hard time with setting the precedent. I know it's a small ask, but this is like a one-time thing. I don't even know if our code actually has the latitude for us to do it. Yes, you are a governing body as a council, but I mean, I don't even want to say this out loud, but we are talking about one business, and then how many other people will be coming down once you do set precedents. On that same topic, there was a request for private security to go through there. And I know I've asked this question a number of times, but I would like Chief and Aaron to weigh in on this, because I believe, if I'm mistaken, you can correct me, but wasn't that private security actually utilized with J Street, and how did that work out?
Yeah, we used private security at J Street. It didn't work out. They're not sworn police officers. There's not a whole lot they can do. They have a phone, and they can call it in like anybody else. Are they a visual deterrent? Yeah, of course they are. Our cameras are visual deterrents as well. And we can't monitor them all the time, but they're actually incredibly valuable to solve crimes. We've solved several of them utilizing those cameras. I am working with the vendor from our surveillance trailer, who's working on an option to put an additional camera out there, because right now we have cameras actually inside that lot that people don't know about. We put one of our cameras on the corner right here on A and number 5, purposefully pointing in directions north and south and east and west, hopefully to catch as much as we can, with one of the blue flashy lights on top to hopefully help that out. And I have provided some guidance to my team to reroute their movement around town. So if you're going north and south, instead of taking whatever, 7th Street, try to get over to 4th, 5th, and do some movements through the neighborhoods that way. Or if you're coming southbound, it'd be a little easier to take 5 instead of 6, things like that. We've also talked about opportunities when we have more than our minimum staffing available to assign them to the community response team, so there's extra people involved. And when teams like tonight, for example, if they have more than minimum staffing, which is 6, to assign them to do specific details to support the neighborhood. So we're doing everything we possibly can. So hopefully that helped, and that's what you're looking for, Mayor.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much. I had Rob and Seth.
Yeah, Joel called me today and asked me to bring up tonight moving forward with trying to come to a resolution on the pay scale reconfiguration and the potential adjustments. I did send out an email to all the counselors individually, not as a group email, but each individual counselor about 10 days ago with some possible considerations for how to move forward on that. I did receive feedback from, I think, 4 counselors. So if anyone's interested in trying to resolve that situation in a way that might be fair for everyone, you may want to look at that email. It was probably about a week ago, maybe a little more, or not. But I know that at least, I think, 4 counselors found it to be helpful. And again, Joel asked me to try to get that on an agenda and moving forward again for some kind of resolution, whether it's to, even if it's just to say, no, not this year, or however we're going to move forward and address that, it needs to be brought back up.
Thanks. Seth?
I'm going to jump back to the business forum real quick.
So excuse me, I'm sorry, excuse me one second. So I don't know if we have 3 counselors that want to move that forward, and if not, we can let it die. I would be one that would want to at least move the discussion forward at some point, getting it on the agenda, again, to do whatever we're going to do with it. I'm not advocating the raises. I'm just saying that there's a particular discussion path that I suggested in that email that we may want to consider, or some other path. But I'd like to, if it dies for a lack of 2 others, that's fine. But I just like us to consider it for one moment.
So, Rob, you want to make a recommendation to go, or your recommendation is to go forward, put it on a workshop as soon as possible?
That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like you got at least a couple thumbs up there, so we will put that in the agenda setting to put it on, try to work it into a workshop coming up soon, even though we are jammed.
Yeah, we certainly can, and there'll be a memo going out answering your questions from the previous workshop. And if I could respectfully request that that email also be provided to staff so we can take a look at what that option is that has been passed around to council.
All right, I had Seth and Indra.
Sorry, back to the business forum real quick. Somebody just sent this to me. I forgot about this. There is a Real Talk forum for local business owners hosted by the city of Grants Pass on May 20th, which is unfortunately a budget committee meeting. So this could be an opportunity, Aaron, to double up here. The ask would be to talk to Dana and James about moving that. I don't really want to, but if it's hosted by the city, it could be a good opportunity to just kind of make it all happen at once.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I mean, I would like council to be there, if possible.
Yeah, we'll see about changing that date.
All right, solving problems. I love it. Good job. In real time. In real time. Kind of love it. Indra.
I'm going to go back to the parking, the 2 parking spaces. This is why people don't like government. We say we care, and then we don't do anything. And we have every power, I think, to do that. Could we have a vote of the council to put those spaces in? And I get that it's a precedent, but let's deal with the repercussions of that after. I think it's the least we could do for these people who live and work in their home across from this camp.
So, councilors, you have a request from Indra to go forward. I would recommend that your request be maybe amended to say to have the staff research what we need to do to get that done.
I would just like them to get it done.
Okay. You have a request from one councilor to establish extra parking for these residents. Do we have anybody else on board?
I just have a comment. I thought that this was already passed over to Aaron and you were going to, right? Was that not? No. Okay.
No,
I
didn't get direction to make that happen. And also during council's consideration, are you also wanting to do the same thing for the commercial business across the street, Mr. Kelly's office? So you'd be looking at multiple parking spots on both sides of the road.
Yeah, it looks like it's expanded to that. So we've got Rob and Indra, Kathleen. So yeah, you've got 3 councilors. Do you have direction?
I do have direction. I'll follow up with our current codes. If there's something that needs to be adopted by resolution or something in order to make that happen, I'll have it forward at the next business meeting for you.
Cool, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Staff, anything you need to weigh in on? Yes, sir. Love the hand raise enthusiasm.
Yes, yeah, pick me. So I've got a great opportunity that I'm hoping for a little bit of help from council on, and it is a transportation and growth management grant that we have, and it's the 6th and 7th Street multimodal study. And that was awarded last year, and what it does is it studies how we get bikes north and south through town, specifically through the downtown core. If you've ever tried to ride a bike through 6th Street, it pinches off about the railroad tracks and you can't go any further unless you go out in traffic. So this study is looking at how we can get bikes through there, and it's looking at all kinds of things, whether it's eliminating parking to make room for bikes or whether we create an alternative parallel route to get them through there. But anyways, what I'm looking for is a couple council members that could join the project advisory committee. There's going to be 4 meetings that we need some input. There's going to be downtown members as well as city staff. We're going to try to get a hold of the school, Chamber of Commerce, but we want your input as well. So there's some technical memoranda that we need to review, and then there will be 4 meetings and a couple of public events. So I'm hoping for 2 volunteers.
Can I ask if RV Act is involved in that?
RV Act is not, nor is the Middle Rogue Metropolitan Planning Organization, but DLCD is who gives out the TGM grants, Transportation Growth Management, so that's what it came through. It's the best kind of money too. ODOT has it. We never have to touch the money or hire the consultant. They just pay them all. It's fantastic.
So Wade, when do you think that those meetings would take place?
We've done most of the existing research. They've been out there counting cars and vehicles and pedestrians, and so I think that here in the next probably month, we'll have the first meeting, and then it's going to probably take most of the summer and try to get it wrapped up this fall.
Yeah, I volunteer.
Thank you.
All right, looks like you got Rob and Rick.
Awesome. Appreciate
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, bring it back to council for a motion to adjourn.
I motion
Victoria.
to adjourn.
Second, Seth? All right, everybody good? Throw a thumb up. Okay, or say aye. Don't care at this point.
Shouldn't you have the one? I have one right here.
Yes, it is.